One Piece Blades of Fire Chapter 401 to 420. Chapter 401, The Strongest Illusion. It did not surprise him that Dazang knew Danzang well. He had already learned this from Zhang Yang. These people from the outside world, like gods, mastered all the secrets of this world. But despite this, as the root, hidden behind Konoha, Danzo has to defend the village no matter what, not allowing anyone to hurt her. Spirituality. Dream Taper. Danzang has a body like a bear, a nose like an elephant, eyes like a rhinoceros, a tail like a cow, and legs like a tiger. It can use the wind to escape objects in the distance. Suck it in and devour it. In ancient legends, the nightmare tapir is a creature that can devour dreams. Soon, the nightmare tapir opened its big mouth and began to absorb the surrounding white mist and all the Dazang. Among them, the Dazang water body could not withstand the strong wind and broke the clone. In the end, the only one left was the Dazang body. Just before Dazang was sucked into his mouth by the nightmare tapir, Danzo made a quick move, grabbed Dazang's neck with his right hand full of bloody eyes, and pressed him hard to the ground, after which the nightmare tapir disappeared. Dazang was pinched so hard by Danzang that he struggled desperately, but he didn't expect this old guy to be so strong that he had no room to break free at all, so he had to endure the torture of suffocation and wait for his own death. Suddenly, just a second before Dazo was about to die of suffocation, Danzo let go of his hand and stood by and stared at him. Dazang coughed twice, desperately breathing fresh air, and when he stood up, he suddenly froze in place. His mind is blank now, and he can't remember anything. Seeing him like this, Danzo touched his right eye with his hand, and suddenly red blood oozes from the bandage wrapped around his head. Danzo staggered and almost fell to the ground, barely able to support his body. Then he took off the bandage wrapped around his head, revealing the blood wheeleye in his right eye, and memories flooded into his mind. After the death of Namikaze Minato, the third Hokage came back to maintain order in the village. At that time, the Uchiha family in the village began to be unstable, which attracted the attention of Konoha executives. In order to prevent the coup d'état of the Uchiha clan, Danzo planned a plan to eradicate the Uchiha clan in one fell swoop to avoid future troubles. But Danzo couldn't trust the people of the Uchiha clan in Anbu, so he took the right eye of Uchiha Shisui, who wanted to stop the Uchiha clan from rebelling. The peace-loving Uchiha Shisui, in order to prevent others from taking his eyes and causing more struggles, entrusted his left eye to Uchiha Itachi, and then threw himself into the river. As Uchiha Shisui's blood wheel eye, he possesses the Beyond God, who can be called the strongest illusion. He can directly invade the brain of the opponent without being noticed, and permanently and completely modify the will to deal with. The disadvantage is that the cooling time is too long. If there is no chakra of the god of the first Naruto world, the cooling time will be as long as 10 years. Although Danzo's right arm is implanted with the chakra of Senju Hashima, it is only for the purpose of activating the Izanagi technique of the blood wheel eye on the right arm, and the other god in his right eye. In the absence of Senju with the support of the chakra of the column, it takes a lot of chakra to activate it. In order to prevent the chakra of the Chinshoshima from attacking his body, Danzo did not transplant his cells on his face, so it was so laborious. All of Danzo's attacks just now were actually saving chakra. The purpose was to discover Danzo's weakness, and fortunately, he launched the strongest illusion at the right time. This illusion has almost exhausted 90% of Danzo's chakra. His old bones can do this, and he has tried his best. Danzo was forced to modify his consciousness by Danzo. He couldn't remember what he was doing here. He was full of fear of the world around him like a child. But at this moment, Dazang was suddenly in darkness. Behind him, a giant white wolf with white flames appeared. It glared at Dazang and exhaled a stream of hot air from its nose. On to Dazang. Danzo, who couldn't see the world of Dazo's consciousness, was struggling to walk to Dazo's side at the moment. He was about to activate the Seal of Self-Kindness curse, planning to use the seal to seal Dazo's actions, and then summon Konoha Anbu. Come and take Dazo away. Because Dazo still has usable value, he has all the secrets of this world in his mind. As long as he digs it out, Danzo thinks he will get some more useful information. Just when he put his hand on Danzo's shoulder, Danzo suddenly swung the beheading sword vigorously, slicing Danzo's head off at a fast speed. Danzo, where the corpse was separated, gradually disappeared, and then reappeared not far away, staring at Danzo in shock, not knowing why he was able to unravel the most powerful illusion. There are still 7 more times. Dazang sneered, launched the Snipe body art, missed instant body, and came to Danzang's side, and then waved his beheading sword to slash at Danzang again. No, maybe there's only one left. In 60 seconds, old thing. Danzo reacted in an instant, and hurriedly pulled out his kunai to barely block the beheading sword, and then launched an ninjutsu at Danzo's head. Wind escape. Vacuum wave. Killing Oso without depleting Chakra's linear wind blade, Oso is killed again. Of course, he was resurrected once again, carrying a big sword and hiding in the thick fog, ready to kill Danzo again at any time. Why? Danzo asked in disbelief, why are you able to untangle the other gods? No matter how powerful the gods are, they are only illusions. As long as they are illusions, there is a way to solve them. Danzo said, as long as there are companions, as long as it senses that I am being controlled by illusions, it can remind me, so illusions will naturally be solved. Open. Your companion is. Danzo was taken aback and turned to look at the giant beast, the white wolf, who was destroying the Konoha building on the other side. That white wolf. That's right, so your illusions are useless to me, Danzo said. Why? He is obviously a psychic. How could he detect that you have fallen in with the other gods? Danzo was still unwilling, and snarled hysterically. The other gods can control the thinking of the other party without the other party's awareness, except I won't have anyone else know that you've fallen into an illusion. How did that beast know? Old guy, after all, the owner of that eye is Shisui of the Uchiha family. You just grab it and take it for yourself. Even if it is the eye, it should be the owner. You are not a member of the Uchiha family. Even if you transplant the cells of the first Hokage, you will not be able to exert the true strength of other gods. Instead, it will consume a lot of chakra and become a burden. Ozang explained. What's more, although the white wolf is a psychic beast, it has a strong perception ability. Chapter 402. The root buried in the deepest part of Konoha. The origin of the name of White Wolf Village is because the people here have been raising a giant white wolf since ancient times. This giant white wolf protects people from wars, and the price is that women with fertility will act as the white wolf. The chakra storage body, so that over time the white wolf can exist in the form of chakra like a tailed beast, rather than just a physical entity like other ordinary psychic beasts. The white wolf's perception ability comes from these human beings who have been passed down from generation to generation to become its pillars. The more the chakras are dispersed, the more they can feel the chakras of different people, so the white wolf's perception ability is also more detailed. So when Dazang went to look for Obito to borrow the tailed beast, Obito was on guard against him, so he did not give him the tailed beast, but told him that White Wolf Village had a psychic beast as powerful as the tailed beast. After that, Dazang summoned the White Wolf back through the ancient ritual of the White Wolf Village. Because Dazang was immortal, the White Wolf also recognized his strength, so he was willing to treat him as a human pillar. The White Wolf is a giant beast between a tail beast and a psychic beast, so it can fight against Renzuli separately. At the same time, they can maintain communication with consciousness. Therefore, after Danzo used the illusion of Bitianshin on Dazo, the wolf felt it and quickly awakened him through consciousness. When Danzo was dying to face Dazo, there was also a fierce battle on the other side. In order to be able to compete with the giant beasts, the current patriarch of the Konoha Chudao clan, Chudao Dingza, used the technique of hyper-doubling to transform his body into a giant-like body to compete with the white wolf. As the other two members of the Konoha pig-deer-butterfly-going group, Nara Shikaku and Yamanaka Kaiichi had no choice but to retreat to the side and chose to give up this battle because they could not control such a large creature. Because of the previous failure of the sealing class, only the enchantment class was allowed to play. A total of 4 of them stood around the White Wolf during the stalemate between Chu Doudingzo and the White Wolf, and then notified Chudoudingzu to evacuate and hurriedly release the enchantment. The red barrier became smaller and smaller, trapping the white wolf in it. After struggling for a while, it turned into a cloud of smoke and disappeared in plain sight. What happened? Jiraiya asked. Disappeared. It's not very clear, but don't be careless, everyone pay attention to the surroundings. Asma said to the people around. As the smoke drifted out of the barrier and then quickly condensed together, the white wolf appeared again. It seems that the enchantment doesn't work very well. Nara Shikahisa thought for a while and said, does the perception ninja perceive the existence of other chakras around? A psychic beast should not attack Konoha so persistently, for sure there will be other ninjas working on it in the dark. Quote. Nara Shikahisa woke everyone up, and the perception ninja quickly began to perceive the chakras around him. Sure enough, he found two people's chakras not far away. One was Oso, who was killed by Genma Shiranui just now, and the other was dying. Is the Anbu leader Danzo? When the members of Anbu heard that Danzo-sama was not good, they hurriedly withdrew from the battle here and rushed to Danzo's side to assist him. At the same time, Dazo has trapped Danzo in the water prison technique. Since killing Danzo is so laborious, he will trap him and wait for the white wolf to destroy Konoha. Danzo, who was trapped in the water prison technique, squinted his eyes and recalled the situation when Sarutobi Hizen was killed by Orochimaru, and he stood in front of his memorial tablet, promising him to protect Konoha. Even if he sacrifices his own life, he must protect the future of Konoha. Because this is the belief of the second Hokage, and it is the will of fire that Sarutobi Hizen has inherited and passed on. Wherever leaves are flying, there is fire burning. Thinking of this sentence, Danzo returned to the light, and suddenly felt full of power. He tore off his clothes and revealed the black four-image formation on his chest, and launched the last ninjutsu, Li. The four-image sealing technique. The blood from his whole body sprayed out from his chest, and the seal of the four elephants engraved on his chest swelled up quickly. And Dazo really didn't expect Danzo to use this trick on him. He hurriedly fled in panic, and even forgot to use the teleportation technique in his panic. Danzo's four-image sealing technique had already shrouded all objects within 100 meters around it. Dazo shouted hysterically, but it didn't work. He couldn't escape. At the last moment of his life, Danzo smiled and said softly, Rizhin, you are the Konoha in the sunshine, I am the root in the darkness, for Konoha, I am here. A white light appeared, Tuan was hiding in a white world, and a kind-faced little old man walked in front of him, waving and smiling at him. Danzo also waved at him, and in the end the two of them chatted and laughed all the way and disappeared into the white light. At the moment when Dazang was sealed, White Wolf disappeared out of thin air. He turned into chakra and returned to the bodies of those women in White Wolf Village, falling asleep forever. Everyone who heard the movement followed all the way. They looked at the corpses hidden on the ground. Some were in pain, some were crying, and some wore masks on their faces and could not see any expressions. Danzo turned into roots and melted into the soil to nourish the next generation. Jiraiya said, now is not a sad time, the war in the Iron Country has not subsided, and ninjas from other countries have rushed there, and we too don't let it go, except for the ninjas who stay to guard the village, the rest will go to the front with me to fight. Everyone nodded. After they obeyed Nara Shikahisa's division of labor, some stayed behind in Konoha, while the other rushed to the battlefield. On the way to the battlefield, Jiraiya also received a letter from Ninja Hawk. Akatsuki's Haiden, Deidara, Scorpion, Kakato and Oni have been killed, leaving only Uchiha Obito and Kakashi and Kai. Fight, and Orochimaru and his reincarnation from the dirt came out Uchiha Madara to fight the Five Shadows. In addition, Orochimaru has 4 guards to protect his safety. Junmalu, who has the limit of blood, the immortal mantra, Shueyu of the Ghost Lamp family, and Xiangling of the Whirlpool family. Konoha Tenin has arrived on the battlefield of the Iron Country, and they began to participate in the battle under the command of Shikamaru, and their life and death are currently unknown. Jiraiya also told the news to his fellow ninjas, and asked Nara Shikahisa what good plans he had. Nara Shikahisa is Konoha's military advisor and has a high IQ. He has also done enough analysis of the turmoil in the ninja world. First of all, the biggest threat is Orochimaru. At present, I have only heard that he has brought out Madara Uchiha and several of his subordinates, but it is obvious that he is preserving his strength. If there is no dirt out, maybe Orochimaru will bring out these ninjas to fight when the troops from these countries arrive on the battlefield, so be sure to be vigilant. Chapter 403. Fighting Technique Team Debut. It is said that in the battle between Uchiha Obito and Kakashi, Kakashi took Kai to a different world with Shinwei. As long as Obito's body is blurred into that space, he can be attacked by Kai. They soon saw through their plan, so they began to distance themselves from Kakashi, and never use the power of the kaleidoscope blood wheel eyes to virtualize their body. Although Obito could easily move Kai out of the other dimension, he knew that Kai had the strength of 8 inner gates, so he simply let him stay there and focus on dealing with Kakashi. Fire Escape. The technique of dancing in the storm. Obito launched a ninjutsu after pulling away from Kakashi. He used the vortex-shaped space distortion released by Shinwei to speed up the spread and intensity of the flame. The range can be compared with Uchiha Madara. The Fire Escape. Brilliant fire extinguishing rivals. Although Kakashi is a battle-hardened genius ninja, has a high mind, and is good at improvising various combat plans, the only disadvantage is that there are too few chakras. In the face of such a level of fire escape, he has a way to deal with it, and he has no strength to deal with it. Kakashi, the copy ninja, known as Konoha's #1 technician, will use more than 1,000 kinds of ninjutsu because he has a shaker eye that can see through any ninjutsu, but because of this, he is also ridden by this one. The eyes are limited. The writing wheel has always been open, so he has been spending chakra to maintain the operation of this eye. Plus, Shinwei, a unique ninjutsu that requires a lot of chakra, it is not a last resort. Easy to use. So in front of Obito's Fire Escape, Storm Flurry Dance, Kakashi can only hide if he can. He needs to save chakra to attack Obito. However, the power of this fire escape is too great, and the speed of its spread is also amazing. It is about to approach Kakashi. He has no choice but to use a large amount of chakra to use water escape to resist this attack. However, just when he was about to condense the chakra after finishing the seal, a clear and loud girl's voice came from behind him. Spirituality. The ocean. I saw Neji, Shaoli and Tien all standing in Kaka behind Nishi. She opened the scroll with the sea mark on it, and then launched a psychic spell on the sea of fire in front of Kakashi. In an instant, water with a capacity comparable to the ocean gushed out from the scroll, not only perfectly resisting the attack of Huodun, but even a large part of the excess water hit Obito, wetting his clothes and increasing the weight. Slowed down his movement to a certain extent. And the surrounding area has been turned into a lake, which is more conducive to dealing with the fire escape with soil. Tien, Kakashi asked in surprise, how can you have such a powerful chakra? Teacher Kakashi, I didn't release this ocean at once. Tien put away the scroll and explained to him proudly, after the Chunin exam, I have been thinking about what type of ninjutsu I am good at. I have tried everything from fighting techniques to ninjutsu, and even asked Tsunade-sama to learn medical ninjutsu. But in the end, I found that weapons and time-space ninjutsu are the most suitable ones, so in order to improve my sense of chakra control, I only store a little water in the time-space scroll almost every day. After a long time, it becomes like the sea. I am also surprised that there is such a large amount of storage. Tien is an amazing ninja, and she is the only one who can channel out an ocean in an instant. Shaoli gave Tien a thumbs up, and then he suddenly realized that Kakashi-sensei was not around him. Hurriedly asked, Mr. Kakashi, where's Mr. Kai? Wasn't he with you? No, I just teleported him to the space created by Shinwei. I originally planned to deal with Obito both inside and out, but after receiving a Kai's attack, Obito never let his body become virtual again, so he hasn't come out yet. Kakashi asked them after explaining, why are you here? It was Shikamaru who asked us to come here. Neji explained, on the way we came, we had already learned some of the situation here through Hinata's white eyes, his teeth's sense of smell, and Shino's parasite. The ability of the organization members. He said that the fighting technique is more suitable for Obito, so let our team come here to help, and the rest of them rushed to Orochimaru. Quote, "Is Shikamaru already here? It's really thoughtful." Kakashi nodded and said to them, "Then let's put an end to the battle here. Everyone can attack Obito, this lake is against us. It's beneficial, as long as he launches the fire escape again, I can use the terrain to cover you with the water escape. Remember, no matter what method you use, you only need to attack Obito. The soil of the entity." Understood. Neji, Tiantian and Shaoli said in unison, and then they rushed towards Obito. Seeing the helper coming, Obito became a little wary, and he continued to launch a long-range attack, Mudden cutting technique. Because Obito's right half-body is full of cells between thousand hand pillars, so he can use Mudden. He released the dense and sharp wooden thorns to attack the three of them. As long as the wooden thorns are inserted into the body, Obito can seal the thorns again to regenerate these wooden thorns, and carry out a second fatal attack in the opponent's body. Neji is of the Hyuga clan with the boundaries of blood, one of the three major pupils, Bayan, which has a 360-degree angle of view, can see the flow of chakra around, and has telescopic eyes and see-through eyes that can see into the distance. The perspective eye of an object. Using chakra to multiply the power of the eyes can see things within a radius of 1 kilometer, and their insight surpasses that of the writing wheel. So in the face of a large-scale group attack ninjutsu, he stepped forward and stood in front of his companions, and launched the secret technique passed down by word of mouth of the Hanada clan, Bagua Jonghuishin. It was originally the secret technique of the sect family, but was comprehended by Neji, who was separated from the family, by virtue of his superb talent. It has to be said that he is a genius of Konoha. And this ninjutsu can release a large amount of chakra from the chakra acupuncture points in the body at the moment of being attacked, and then make a circular rotation like a top, which can rebound all physical attacks, which can be called in a certain sense is absolute defense. The more chakra spends, the larger the scope of Bagua Jonghuishin will be. All these wooden thorns will be bounced off, and they won't hurt any of them at all. After that, Neji launched the ninjutsu again, Bagua Empty Palm. He concentrated the chakra in the palm of his hand, shot it out with a shock wave, and quickly attacked Obito's body. Chapter 404, Fighting Technique. But this time, Obito didn't dodge, but activated Shinwei to transfer all of Neji's Bagua Empty Palms into the different space. At this time, he was wondering why Kakashi didn't attack Obito's Kai when he suddenly heard the movement behind him and hurriedly waved his nunchakus in the direction behind him. But when he turned around, Bagua Empty Palm, he bluntly hit him in the stomach, knocking him to the ground. What's the situation? Kai rubbed his stomach and stood up with a gloomy face, only to realize that the move that attacked him just now seemed to be from Neji's ninjutsu. Thinking of this, Kai showed a happy expression and said to himself, could it be that they are all here? Seeing that Neji's attack was ineffective every day, he said to him, Ninki, the single attack can be easily absorbed by him, and leave it to me. The seamless attack is a piece of cake for me. He took out 2 scrolls from his waist, and then threw them to both sides of his body and launched a psychic spell, Double Thanglong. In an instant, a large number of knives were fired from the scroll, indiscriminate and wide area attacks on Obito. And Obito didn't mean to evade or make his body blurry at all. He continued to activate divine power, and sent all these amazing knives to the different space. Kai, who was in a different dimension, sensed that something was coming in again. He hurriedly took the nunchaku in front of him and took a defensive stance. Immediately afterwards, a large number of high-speed moving knives sent in from the outside shot towards Kai, and he was so shocked that his eyes fell out and shouted, "This time it's every day again, it's too violent, when did you learn to operate this way? There are too many knives, and when I go out, I will definitely teach her girls to play less weapons." Kai roared and waved his nunchucks for defense. After this wave of swords attacked, Kai also collapsed to the ground, sweating and tired. Although he complained about the behavior of the students hitting the teacher, On the other hand, he was still proud of them. After all, he was able to wear him like this. Who's next? Xiaoli. Kai said to himself. Fortunately, Xiaoli doesn't know any ninjutsu, and he doesn't know how to use knives. He only knows how to fight with his bare hands. I can take a break. At this time, Xiaoli, who was in the outside world, also started to attack. He rushed over and launched, 8 inner gates, 8 inner gates. The third gate of life, open. 8 inner gates is a forbidden technique that restricts chakra by touching the body. In the meridian system of chakra flow, there are 8 places in total to inhibit and control chakra in the body. They are Gate of Opening, Gate of Healing, Gate of Life, Gate of Pain, Gate of Limit, Gate of View, Gate of Wonder and Dead Gate. Baman will set a limit on the chakra in the ninja body, but Lilianhua can use chakra to force beyond this limit, so it releases a trick that is dozens of times more powerful than the original. Lilianhua is a technique that lifts the restrictions of the human body and releases the ability. However, when the caster cannot bear the heavy burden of that kind of power, it will hurt his body, so it is called a forbidden technique. Xiaoli has only opened 3 doors at present, but it is enough to attack the opponent at a speed exceeding the speed of sound, which is extremely lethal. When he burst out with strength, he came behind Obito at a speed that surpassed ordinary people. Obito couldn't see his movements at all, and could only feel a gust of wind coming towards him behind him. No way, Obito can only make his body virtual first, in order to avoid Xiaoli's fighting technique attack. But what makes Kakashi wonder is why Obito was not attacked by Kai after using his avatar ability. What danger did Mofeikai encounter in the different dimension? However, in fact, although Kai found Obito's body appearing in front of him, but because Xiaoli's speed was too fast, at this time Kai didn't have time to attack. Xiaoli's body had already penetrated Obito, so Obito had no time to attack. The body of the soil also disappeared in front of Kai. As expected of my apprentice. Kai said proudly, then let Master cooperate with you to attack him. After speaking, Kai also opened the 3rd door, and his speed and strength increased tenfold. Therefore, when Xiaoli attacked Obito again, Kai Ning easily saw Obito's body appearing in front of him and attacked him hard. Obito in the real world was attacked by Kai who opened the door. His body couldn't bear it at all, and he fell to the ground immediately, vomiting blood. Seeing Obito falling to the ground, Xiaoli immediately realized that Master was fighting alongside him in a different dimension, and he burst into tears in an instant. Mr. Kai, I didn't expect that I would attack here, and you would also attack there, although they are not in the same world, but their hearts are connected, it's so bloody. Tian shook his head and sighed, where are you so hot? Really, these two are really good. Because he felt Master's breath, Xiaoli became more and more passionate. He kicked Obito's body hard, ready to cooperate with Teacher Kai again. However, what he didn't expect was that when Xiaoli kicked Obito's body, he didn't feel that it was a virtual body, but a real body. Just when Xiaoli was wondering, some sharp wooden thorns suddenly grew out of Obito's body and pierced directly into Xiaoli's leg. Xiaoli was in constant pain and was about to pull out his leg. At this moment, those wooden thorns that pierced into Xiaoli's leg grew rapidly, directly piercing his calf and wrapping his leg. Xiaoli fell to the ground in pain, feeling like his leg was about to break. The power of Gate of Life was automatically released. Soon, those thorns split from Obito's body and controlled Xiaoli alone, while Obito stood up and looked at him dismissively. I have to say that your research on me is really thorough, but even so, you are no match for me at all. After speaking, Obito stretched out his hand and started to seal. Those thorns quickly grew wildly and wrapped Xiaoli's whole body inside. Then Obito launched a ninjutsu, wooden cutting and burial. Those wooden thorns seemed to grow wildly inside, only to hear Xiaoli's heart-breaking roar, and then there was no movement. Red blood seeped out from the wooden wrap, and quickly spread over the lake, dyeing the entire lake red. In the darkness, Xiaoli seemed to hear someone calling his name, Xiaoli. Wake up, cheer up. If you can't wake him up like this, let me come. Xiaoli frowned, not understanding what they were saying, Tiantian and Neji. Are you dead too? Suddenly, Xiaoli felt that someone slapped him on the back, and a burst of chakra rushed into his body. He opened his eyes suddenly, and found that the battlefield was still in front of him, Neji and Tiantian. All by their side. What's the matter? Xiaoli asked in surprise, am I dead? Chapter 405, The Nagato in the Different Space. You didn't die, it's just that you were too careless just now and got caught in Obito's illusion. Neji explained while reminding. Don't go rashly anymore, be careful of his riding wheel. Obviously, for Xiaoli, the experience just after the illusion was something he didn't want to experience again, so he subconsciously stopped looking at Obito's eyes, but stared at other parts of his body. From the observation just now, Kakashi found that Obito used the magic power many times in a row, but he didn't feel any fatigue. It seemed that his chakra was inexhaustible. What was going on? Is he borrowing the chakra of the tailed beast? No matter what, it's not the way to drag it on like this. You should attack Obito as soon as possible. Kakashi began to simulate various battle plans in his mind. Kakashi, this kind of boring fight is enough. Obito said at this time. No matter what method you use, you can't hurt me. How can you be so sure? Kakashi said. If you are attacked again, as long as you incarnate your body again, I believe that Kai, who has already opened 8 inner gates, will definitely attack you with all his strength. Really? Obito sneered and said, then I'll end this boring fight, it's almost time anyway. After speaking, Obito activated Shinwei, and everyone took a few steps back, for fear of being teleported to another dimension by Shinwei. However, contrary to everyone's expectations, the person who sent Obito this time was actually himself. When Obito completely disappeared in front of everyone, Xiaoli asked Kakashi with a puzzled look, why did he teleport himself to Teacher Kai? Why did he take the initiative to die? Kakashi shook his head. He actually didn't understand Obito's method. According to reason, Obito should have learned about Kai's strength. If it wasn't for a moment's negligence, then he must have a way to deal with Kai, otherwise he would not have rashly attacked Kai. Sent by myself. Thinking of this, Kakashi sweated for Kai. In fact, they all misunderstood Obito and his time-space ninjutsu abilities. The first time they were attacked by Kai was because Obito didn't know that Kai was teleported to another dimension by Kakashi using divine power, and this strange space itself was created by Obito himself, so he was very familiar with the space inside, and could sense every corner, which was why Neji's, Bagua Kongzong, and Tiantian's, Shuangshenglong, were extremely accurate. The reason why Kai attacked the past was that he deliberately teleported those ninjutsu to Kai's side. On the other hand, Obito's mission is not to kill Kakashi and the other ninjas, but to try to delay time for Lin Xiaoyu and Uchiha Itachi, so that they can capture Yaoi and Juwei as soon as possible, so as to summon the 10 tails as soon as possible come. When Lin Xiaoyu, who can freely enter and exit different spaces, brought Kurabi in, Obito immediately sensed it, so he said, it's almost time. Obito, who teleported himself to the different dimension, did not come to the area where Kai was, but the area where Kurabi was located. Lin Xiaoyu was not seen here, and he estimated that she had gone out again. Just when Obito checked whether Kurabi was still alive, he suddenly felt someone approaching him. He raised his head suddenly, and saw a familiar thin figure. The memory of Nagato, which was released by Lin Xiaoyu, was still in the stage of capturing Orochimaru. So when he found out that the world around him was not the ninja world he was familiar with, he began to suspect that all this was done by Madara Uchiha. Ghost. Mara, why are you trapping me here? When Nagato saw Madara Uchiha and Kurabi, he chased after him and asked, what happened? When Obito heard Nagato call himself Uchiha Madara, he knew that this was the reason why Lin Xiaoyu lifted his control over him, so he planned to accompany him to perform. Nagato, the 4th Ninja War started ahead of schedule, but we are still short of 2 tailed beasts that have not been collected in the outward magic Dao, Kurabi here, and the young Sora from the Fire Temple of the Fire Kingdom. Sora, isn't it Naruto? Nagato asked. No, Naruto has been protected by Jiraiya, and there is no trace of him. Obito explained, however, using Sora, who also has 9-tailed chakras, can also summon 10 tails, so don't worry. Then why am I here? Nagato asked. The war broke out early, and all countries are sending elite ninjas to hunt you down, so in order to safely complete the task of collecting the tailed beast chakra, I brought you here. Obito said. So let's start. First of all, the chakra is collected in the outward magic path, and then the chakra of the 9 tails is sent over. Quote. However, Nagato didn't move. He stared at Obito's eyes, as if he wanted to see through his mind. No matter what Obito said, Nagato didn't want to believe him. Nagato didn't have any memory of the period from arresting Orochimaru to being in a different dimension, so he was very suspicious of what Obito did to him. Where is Xiaonan? Nagato continued to ask, and where is my pen Ludao? This time, Obito didn't intend to continue to make up lies to answer Nagato's question, because he found that Nagato's eyes had become wrong, so he said to him unceremoniously, you just collect the tailed beasts into the outward magic way. Well, our plan is only the last few steps away, and you don't want to give up halfway, right? Nagato didn't speak anymore, because he found that the current situation was out of his control. Apart from the disappearance of Xiaonan and his own pain, there was no news of other members of the Akatsuki organization. He was happy and vaguely worried. Okay, hurry up and summon the outgoing demon seal 8 tails. Obito left after saying that there was still a problem in this space, and he still had to send Kai out, lest something go wrong while Nagato was working. Looking at Obito's figure, Nagato moved his fingers, but in the end he did nothing. He looked at Kurabi, who was lying on the ground, and finally activated his psychic technique, summoned the outward magic path, and then launched the illusory dragon 9 seals, to release the chakra dragons released from the outward magic path. The chakra of the tailed beast is extracted and sealed. Previously, due to the constant manipulation of Pen's 6 paths, Nagato could not complete such a large sealing technique by himself, so every time the seal was sealed, all members of Akatsuki's organization had to be present. But now Nagato found that his chakra had recovered a lot for some reason, but he no longer needed to spend chakra to control 6 pains, so he could complete the illusory dragon 9 seals technique by himself. However, when he was extracting the 8-tailed chakra from Kurabi's body, he felt something was wrong. This Kurabi seemed to be fake. Chapter 406. Kakashi vs. Obito. When Kai waited in the different space for a long time, he didn't see any movement. He guessed that Kakashi and the others encountered some danger outside. Before, their plan was to let Kai enter the different space and Kakashiri should cooperate with Obito. After conquering the Obito, Kakashi would use divine power to teleport himself into the other space and bring Kai out. The 3 consecutive divine powers must consume a lot of chakra, so Kakashi saved so much in the battle just now, and did not use his full strength. But now not only did they not see them attack Obito, nor did Kakashi come in and take him away, Kai was a little scared. If his remaining decades of youth were wasted in this space, it would be even more terrifying than the destruction of the world. There are white platforms with gaps all around, and underneath is a bottomless black hole that hasn't been built yet, so Kai doesn't dare to walk around and can only wait anxiously in place. At this moment, Kai noticed that someone seemed to be coming towards him. He was overjoyed, turned around and shouted, Kakashi, you are finally here. In the end, when he saw that the person who appeared in front of him was actually Uchiha Obito, Kai was dumbfounded, and he roared in his heart, what the hell is going on? Of course, in fact, Obito didn't want to waste any time and energy on Kai. Killing a Kai had no effect on the operation in the later stage. Even Kai, who opened the door to death, couldn't kill himself in the 6 paths mode, so Obito the Soil actually came to send him out. Kai waved his nunchucks a few times, and the matter was over. He could only fight to the death. Obito didn't intend to talk nonsense with him, and directly launched Shinwei, ready to send Kai out. At the same time, a whirlpool-shaped space appeared behind Obito, and a white-haired ninja wearing a mask came out of the whirlpool and launched ninjutsu in his hand, Rachel. Obito was very alert, and with his 6th sense bursting, he hurriedly launched the wooden escape, allowing a large number of wooden thorns to quickly grow behind him to resist Rachel. Kakashi's hand launched Rachel and stabbed into a large number of wood thorns, but the wood thorns were still growing, and attacked Kakashi's arm with sharp thorns, so he did not attack deeply, but hurriedly retracted his hand. Obito was reluctant to let go, and launched the wooden escape to continue to extend the wooden thorn, trying to pierce Kakashi's body. Kakashi could only use the ninjutsu while backing up, fire escape. How about fireball? He gathered the chakra in his mouth, and a ball-shaped flame was released from his mouth, and the wooden thorns that were stretched out towards him were released from his mouth. Burnt to ashes. Kakashi, Kai shouted excitedly, "You're finally here." "Well, don't be careless, Akai." Kakashi took out the kunai from the pocket behind him, put on a fighting stance, and said, "We're here to get rid of him together." "Okay," Kai said, also bent down, tucked the nunchaku under his arm, ready to attack at any time. In an instant, the situation became unfavorable for Obito. On one side, the talented Konoha technician copied Kakashi the ninja, and on the other was the Konoha Blue Beast fighting technique master Matekai. Neither of these two people were fuel-efficient waiting for lights. "Kakashi, you've already used Shinwei twice. If I'm not mistaken, you can only use it once more, when you teleport the two of you out." Obito took back the thorns and turned to face Kaka. She said, "If I use my divine power to leave here now, there will be basically not much chakra left after you chase it out. Do you think you can beat me with confidence?" "I didn't come in here rashly," Kakashi explained. "There are two disadvantages when you activate the divine power to teleport yourself. The first is that the speed is very slow, and the second is that your body is a solid body during this period, so in such a short time and distance, you can try to escape the two of us." Quote. Obito didn't speak anymore, because what Kakashi said was the truth. Let's not talk about Kakashi for the time being, it was Kai on the other side. He had already opened 3 doors and his speed exceeded the speed of sound, and he couldn't escape at all. "Since that's the case, then we have to fight seriously," Obito said, and he made a seal with his hands and launched a ninjutsu, Uchiha Flame Formation. A red knot appeared around him and Kakashi. World, isolating the two of them from Kai. 8 inner gates. The first. Just when Kai was about to open another gate to break the barrier of Obito, Kakashi stopped him. "Akai, don't waste chakra anymore, this situation is what I hope for now. Since I can't bring Obito back, I will send him away myself," Kakashi said. Kai froze for a while, then exited the 8-door state, and at the same time put away the nunchucks, and said, "I understand, you be careful." Kakashi said, and faced Obito again, this former companion, but now he wants to kill each other with him. Kakashi never dreamed that there would be such a day. In a sense, Obito is a very important person in Kakashi's life, because he once changed Kakashi's outlook on life and values. Witnessing his father's suicide by hanging from the beam, the world that Kakashi saw as a child was only boundless darkness. As a ninja, the mission is the only purpose, everything that hinders the mission, and even the companions do not need to pay attention to it, because the father who values the companions, in turn, is blamed by the companions, how desperate it is. With such a mentality, Kakashi has been training hard and became the first Jonin in his grade. Later, in the famous Battle of Canopy Bridge, between Lin and the mission, Kakashi and Obito had a disagreement. He believed that he should complete the mission first and then save Lin, while Obito chose to save his companions. Before leaving, he said something to Kakashi that changed his life. As a ninja, if you can't complete your mission, you are called a waste. However, if you don't even pay attention to your companions, you are not as good as a waste. I think Konoha Baya is the real one. Hero. It was this sentence, Konoha Baya is a real hero, that made Kakashi doubt that there were still people in the world who recognized his father's actions. At that time, the whole village was blaming him for giving up the mission to rescue his companions, and those who were rescued also slander him. Why does Obito say that? As a ninja, if you can't complete the task, you are called a waste, but even your comrades don't value it, even a waste. Is this a ninja? That's right, Kakashi agrees with Obito's sentence, and uses this sentence as the creed of life throughout his life. But now Obito has gone astray. He has forgotten what he said at the beginning, so Kakashi now wants to remind him again. What is a companion? What is a ninja? In an instant, the two rushed towards each other at the same time, starting this fateful duel. Chapter 407. Madara's Proposal. When Kakashi and Obito faced off in a different dimension, the real world on the other side was also suffering a tragic battle, and Five Shadows and Uchiha Madara were still entangled. Madara Uchiha, who was reincarnated from the dirty soil, is controlled by Orochimaru, and his strength is not at his peak, so he can only use Susanoo's skills by himself, and cannot be cloned from Susanoo. Reduced a lot. However, even in a 5-on-1 situation, it is still very difficult for the Five Shadows, because Madara Uchiha's chakra is unlimited, and they are almost running out of chakra. If this continues, there is only one dead end. Do you have any plans? Onogi asked breathlessly. I feel like my waist is about to break. It seems that there is no way to deal with it. Tsunade analyzed Tsurumime and Gaara while analyzing. Uchiha Madara can be resurrected infinitely, and chakra is also infinite. We and he spent time here completely. Bad for us. But if you try to deal with the caster Orochimaru, it won't work. Even if you kill the caster, Uchiha Madara knows how to unravel the art of reincarnation. Once he unlocks it, his strength it will appear many times higher, and then there will be no way to deal with it. So what should we do now? I asked. I don't know. Tsunade thought for a while and then said, but I still have an idea. At this time, he looked at the desperate Five Shadows in front of him, and laughed at them. I just got a little bit of interest in me just now, why can't it be so fast? Hee, it's just a dead man, what big things are you talking about here? Tsunade sneered and said, I didn't expect the famous Madara Uchiha to be used by others. It's really pitiful. Use. Madara Uchiha frowned and asked, what do you mean? Do you think everything is going according to your plan? Tsunade said that she couldn't go back. This is her plan. Let Madara figure out the current form, so that maybe it can delay some time for Mifune to give each the state sends a letter, and when reinforcements arrive, there may be a way to deal with Madara. Oh, Madara Uchiha looked at Tsunade with interest. He didn't believe Tsunade's words, so he asked disdainfully, my plan? How do you know that everything didn't go according to my plan? Originally, you asked Nagato, who has Rinnegan, to resurrect you, but I didn't expect that you would be resurrected in the form of reincarnation from the dirt. Doesn't that mean you were used? Tsunade said sharply. This time, Madara Uchiha was speechless. He was not surprised that it did not follow the original plan, but was surprised that Tsunade knew his plan. What was going on? Has Nagato betrayed? No wonder he was reincarnated by Orochimaru with dirt. Seeing that Madara Uchiha had been silent, Tsunade saw the effect and immediately continued. Everyone thought that you and my grandfather were killed during the Battle of the End Valley, but in fact you were killed by the second Hokage Senju Tobirama. He was rescued. He originally wanted to study your ability to write round eyes, but he didn't expect to die at the hands of the Golden Horn and Silver Horn brothers, so you have been secretly recuperating. Before dying, because of the transplant of the cells of his grandfather Chinchujujian, he merged the two sons of the six immortals, Atara and Ashura's chakra, and led to the power of the six immortals, which opened the direct evolution of the kaleidoscope writing wheel. Rinnegan. After you have these eyes, you start to figure out the Moon Eye plan. Interesting. Madara Uchiha sneered and said, go on, I've already begun to be interested in you, granddaughter of Senju Hashima. Tsunade breathed a sigh of relief, and seeing Madara Uchiha had no intention of fighting, he began to sort out what Jongyang told him and continued to delay time. In order to revive yourself in the future, you transplanted Rinnegan to a child named Nagato in the Vortex family, a distant relative of the Thousand Hand family, who is now the leader of Akatsuki, but in fact, you are the manipulator behind it. Right. But now, you should be wondering why Uchiha Obito didn't capture Nagato's Rinnegan as planned, and didn't bring you back to life. Think about it, who is behind all this, and who is using who? Tsunade's last words made Madara Uchiha believe that someone had betrayed him, otherwise she would not have known those things. The only ones who know the Moon Eye plan are Uchiha Obito, Ju, and Uchiha Madara himself. Black Ju is Uchiha Madara's own consciousness, so it is impossible to betray, and only Uchiha Obito is left. So he asked, Uchiha Obito told you these things? Tsunade stared at Madara Uchiha and was silent for a long time before saying, yes. Madara Uchiha was also silent for a long time. He turned to Orochimaru in the distance and said, unlock me, or I will let you die without a place to die. Seeing that the situation had developed to this point, Orochimaru didn't expect it either. He said, Madara, you know the solution to the art of reincarnation, so it's impossible for me to release the control over you, and someone specifically asked me to do so. Obito. Madara Uchiha pronounced the name viciously. That's right, Orochimaru said. The feeling of being betrayed is not so pleasant, especially when Obito, who trusted him the most, raised from childhood to adulthood, and saved his life. Madara Uchiha thought of this, and the anger in his heart began to explode. He tried to rely on his own the power to unlock the art of reincarnation of the dirty earth, but it was in vain. So he had to turn his head and said to the 5 shadows here, as long as you help me kill Orochimaru, I can choose to let you go for a while. Stop dreaming. Reikage shouted. How can we compromise with the enemy? Either defeat you or die in battle. Then wait for me to kill you. Uchiha Madara said coldly. If this continues, the entire ninja world will be destroyed by me, and it's all your fault for causing this. Reikage just wanted to say something, but was stopped by Tsunade and Onogi. What are you two doing? Do you want the enemy to compromise? Reikage roared angrily. Don't get excited, now the reinforcements from Konoha are definitely on their way. They must have a way to seal Madara Uchiha. They should stabilize him now. Tsunade said. That's right, Tsunade is right, if we carry on like this, we will all die. Onogi also said. Reikage saw that the other 2 shadows did not speak, and everyone was seriously injured. It was really not the way to fight hard like this. He had to nod his head and suppress the anger in his heart for the time being. Chapter 408. Rookie Konoha debuts. Just when Wying pointed the finger at Orochimaru, Orochimaru already knew that they couldn't keep them anymore. According to this time period, Lin Xiaoyu had already collected almost all the tailed beasts, and it was time to end it. So Orochimaru formed a seal with both hands and completely controlled Uchiha Madara, making his consciousness disappear completely, and it was completely controlled by Orochimaru. In this way, the situation of the 5 shadows began to be passive again, and Madara Uchiha, who was completely controlled, once again launched the complete body of Susanoo to attack the 5 shadows. Gaara hurriedly launched ninjutsu to defend. Ninjutsu. Empty sand defense wall. He spent a lot of chakra to create a huge sand wall to block the top of Wukong's head to resist Uchiha Madara's attack. At the same time, Onogi also floated up and launched a ninjutsu on the empty sand barrier, above his head, soil escape. Ultra light and heavy rock art. He lightened the weight of the sand so that Gaara would be less difficult to control. Tsunade also came behind Gaara and delivered the chakra stored in his body to Gaara, so that he had the power to continuously defend. Terumi Mei launched ninjutsu, water escape. Haze technique. A large amount of fog was spit out from his mouth to blur the surrounding vision, so as to obstruct Uchiha Madara's vision, because it added water attribute chakra. The reason, the effect is more prominent. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Reikage came to Madara Uchiha's head in a flash, and used ninjutsu on him, thunder escape. Thunder cruel level Chiyo Mai. He condensed the chakra of the thunder attribute in his hand and dived down, slashing at Susanoo of Madara Uchiha with his knife. However, due to the lack of chakra, he only shattered Susanoo's appearance a little, and did not cause any actual damage. And Madara Uchiha, who was in Susanoo's body, took the opportunity to launch the fireball technique on Reikage, burned him and fell on Gaara's empty sand wall, and soon I fell in love with him. Luo manipulated the sand around I to soften, and created a small quicksand to leak I from above, and then Tsunade went to treat him. Just when Susanoo was attacking the 5 shadows with the blue sword in his hand, Madara Uchiha didn't give them the slightest chance, so he formed the seal again and launched a ninjutsu, Mudun. The technique of the wood dragon. This is also the technique obtained after transplanting the cells of the 1000-hand column, using chakra to create a giant wooden dragon, can not only attack the enemy, but also absorb the opponent's chakra. The giant wooden dragon tossed in the air and drilled under the empty sand wall, attacking the 5 shadows. Gaara was defending, while Tsunade was healing Reikage and sending chakra to Gaara, but he couldn't make a move. Had to be shot by Terumi Mei and Onogi. Dust escape. The technique of stripping away the realm. Wrong escape. The technique of dissolving monsters. Onogi controlled the striping technique to cut the wooden dragon, while Terumi Mei used the monster dissolving technique to corrode the wooden dragon. They resisted for a while before destroying the entire wooden dragon. Wood dragon technique. Madara Uchiha continued to launch ninjutsu, wooden. The technique of wooden clones. Attack. Originally, one Uchiha Madara was hard enough to deal with, but now there are 5 more, plus they all have unlimited chakra, there is no way to beat them. On the other hand, on the 5 shadows side, a group of old, weak, sick and disabled, there is no extra chakra to deal with Madara's clone. Just when they were all facing despair, several figures suddenly appeared in front of them. Tsunade saw them and laughed with relief. Super Tooth Wolf Tooth. Secret Technique. Bug Tornado. The 64 palms of guarding the 8 diagrams. The art of turning the heart into a clone. Super Pusher. Except for Tsunade, the others shouted out in surprise. This is Konoha's reinforcements. First, Inazukaya and Akamaru appeared in the form of 2-headed wolves. After they merged, they quickly rotated their bodies to form a huge tornado. Even if they didn't directly touch the opponent, they could cut it in half. Together with Akamaru, he took down a Madara's Kiden clone. Then there is the Oil Girl Shino's secret technique that uses the Oil Girl family to create a whirlwind that surrounds a Madara clone by using the bad insects that ambush around the enemy in advance, and sucks up the Madara clone trapped in it without leaving a trace. Hinata approached a Madara clone and quickly waved her hands to create a semicircular Huishin. She concentrated the chakra in the palm of her hand and extracted it, strengthened it into a chakra needle, and smashed the Madara clone in front of her into pieces. In the end, it was the joint attack of Yamanaka Ino and Chu Doudingji of the Pig Deer Butterfly family. First, Ino launched the heart-turning avatar technique, and at the same time invaded 2 Madara avatars and controlled them, and then Chu Doudingji using super push hands, on the basis of part of the multiplication technique, use huge hands to press on the enemy, smashing the 2 Madara clones controlled by Ino. Master, there are other shadows, are you alright? Ino hurried over to help Tsunade treat other shadows with palm immortality. Hinata knew some healing skills and followed suit. It's okay Ino, Hinata, I didn't expect you to come so quickly. Tsunade praised. The kid in Konoha is really amazing. Onogi gave them a thumbs up. Fortunately, you arrived in time to save our lives. It's okay, haha, I didn't expect to see all the 5 shadows here at once, and I can brag when I go back. Tooth touched his head and laughed. At this time, the oil girl Shino whispered, yeah, don't be so happy, if you want to ask why, the war is not over yet. Tsunade glanced at all of them, only to find out that they were students from the red class and asthma class, but Shikamaru was not seen in the pig and butterfly group, so he asked, where's Nara Shikamaru? Come with you. Chu Doudingji came over and pointed to the top, and said to Tsunade, Lord Hokage, he came with us. Everyone didn't quite understand what he meant, so they all looked up, but apart from Gaara's empty sand barrier, they didn't see Shikamaru. At this moment, Tsunade reacted. It has been a long time, and Madara Uchiha has not launched an attack. This can only mean one thing. Don't tell me. That's right, just as Tsunade thought, When Shikamaru went down to deal with Madara's clone, he walked around behind Madara and secretly launched. Shadow imitates the shuriken technique. Madara Uchiha felt movement behind him, but when he turned around, he saw a Konoha ninja throwing kunai at him, and laughably throwing it on the shadow beside him. Chapter 409. The Toda Mortal Comes. Just when Madara Uchiha was about to attack Shikamaru, he found that his body couldn't move at all. He hurriedly remembered that it must be the kunai. Shadow imitated the technique of shuriken, successful. Shikamaru showed a smile on the corner of his mouth, and then he slowly put Yuyan's hand down. This technique was inspired by Asma's injection of chakra into the ninja sword. As long as he injects his own secret technique chakra into the blade, and then makes the blade stare at the shadow of the enemy, he can immobilize him, and you can move freely, and you don't have to spend chakra maintenance all the time, which is very convenient. At this time, because Madara Uchiha stopped attacking, Gaara finally solved the empty sand defense wall, a ninjutsu that was quite chakra intensive. Everyone's sight was wide again, and you could see Shikamaru behind Madara Uchiha. Did that kid subdue Madara Uchiha? Reikage asked in disbelief. It seems so. Tsunade proudly introduced Shikamaru to him. This child is the son of our Konoha military advisor Nara Shikahisa, Nara Shikamaru, a tactical genius ninja with a high IQ. It's really a good kid. You are really blessed to have so many young talents in Konoha. Terumi Mei was very envious, because the politics of Korijin village was very dark during the reign of Yakura, and it was impossible to do so. There are many people who choose to become a ninja as a profession. Let's end the chat first. Onogi reminded. Although Madara has been subdued, Orochimaru is still there. Shikamaru, is there anyone else here? Tsunade asked at this time. I don't know, because we are familiar with the abilities of the members of the organization, so we were arranged to come to support first. Sakura has an antidote, so he went to help Kankuro and Tamari to deal with the scorpion, while Neji, Tiantian and Shaoli went to help Kakashi and Kakashi. Nara Shikamaru explained. In addition, shortly after we left the village, we found that the village was attacked by the White Wolf. They should still be fighting against it, and now I don't know if it is over. Is Konoha village under attack? Tsunade frowned, although she was very worried, but there were still ninjas like Jiraiya and Danzo in the village, so she should be able to deal with it. For now, she should be more concerned about the situation here. At this time, Orochimaru, who was in the distance, tried to break free from Shikamaru's shadow imitation shuriken technique, but it was a secret technique, and he couldn't break free, so he had to use other methods. He winked at Shigego and Suzuki beside him, and asked them to manually pull out the shuriken holding Madara Uchiha's shadow. The two understood and set off immediately. Next, Orochimaru looked at Kaling again and asked, how is the situation of the battle now? Xiangling has been sensing the situation in other battlefields since just now, and then reported to Orochimaru Hui, Hijuan, Deidara, Ghost Shark, Jiaodu and Scorpion have all been killed. Baiju's chakra disappeared, but he has the ability to split should not be so easy to die, and the chakras of Uchiha Obito, Kakashi and Kai have also disappeared, and they should have entered a different space. After she finished speaking, she sensed it again and said, the battle situation on our side is not good. There are a total of 11 ninjas on the opposite side, and it seems that they are still prepared. In addition, there is a person with a strong chakra rushing here. Come. Orochimaru nodded and said, don't worry, we still have a lot of inexhaustible helpers here. After speaking, he launched an operation on his body, and then he saw a lot of the white objects. When they completely fell off Orochimaru, did it become clear that they were actually 3 Shirai. These Shirai were put on Orochimaru when Obito was very early. The purpose was to spy on him, but now they are all on the united front, so there is no need to engage in these tricks. Orochimaru told these Baijus his arrangement. The Baijus understood and began to split, until 10 Baijus were split, and they set off. Orochimaru-sama, do these sages do anything? They look weak, Junmaro asked inexplicably. These Baiju are a little different from the previous ones. I can feel that their chakras are very strong. Xiangling said. That's right, these Baiju's bodies were implanted with cells from the Qinshouzhujian. Of course, those ordinary Baiju can't compare. This is a unique trick that Obito used to kill me. Chang'o and Shuiyu, who rushed over first, had already started a melee with them. Although they were outnumbered, because of the immortal body reincarnated in the dirt, there was no need to be afraid. Later, with Baiju's joining, whoever came into contact with them, they transformed into that person's appearance, and at the same time possessed their abilities. Therefore, the current situation is, Shigego, Suzuki, Shirai Ya, Shirai Shino, Shirai Choji, Shirai Hanada, Shirai Ino, Shirai Tsunade, Shirai Ai, Shirai Onoki, Shirai Ii Luo and Shirai Terumime are fighting 5 shadows and Konoha Tenin. Except for Shikamaru, each of them dealt with their own clones, and Shikamaru had to face the 2 immortal guys, Shigego and Suzuki, alone. Because the beheading sword has always been held by Dazo, Shuiyu can only use the bare-handed style that he hates. As a fanatical fan of the beheading sword, he is really not used to it without a sword. While complaining, he attacked very seriously. Water escape. Water and iron cannon art. He condensed chakra on his fingers and fired it out like a bullet. The only ninjas who know how to use this move are Ghost Lantern Moon Moon, Ghost Lantern Water Moon, and Ghost Lantern Moon Moon. The continuous, water and iron cannons, attacked Shikamaru. Shikamaru had no way to dodge them all. He could only use ninjutsu, secret jutsu, shadow shield technique, condensed the shadow on himself and wrapped himself up, to form a hard shield to resist the attack of the moon. Seeing that Shikamaru had been restrained by Suzuki, Shigego ran to Madara Uchiha to prepare to pull out the cutting tool that controlled him. Just when his hand was about to touch the shadow, he suddenly heard the above him. There was a commotion, followed by a man's voice, "Spiral pills." I saw Jiraiya appear above Chang'o out of thin air, and slammed the spiral pill in his hand on his back, directly smashing Chang'o into pieces. Miaomu Mountain Toad Immortal is here. Jiraiya shouted, standing on one foot, posing in a pose he thought was handsome, and then tossing his hair. Tsunade, who was playing against self, by the side, saw Jiraiya and asked incredulously, "Jiraiya, how did you appear?" "Wow, 2 Tsunade." Jiraiya stared at the 2 Tsunade's chests that were shaking due to the battle, and the nosebleed instantly spurted out. "You old pervert," Tsunade scolded. "Be careful behind." Chapter 410, Seal. Jugo, who had just been smashed by Jiraiya with the spiral pill, was resurrected again. He instantly turned on the cursed mode, and after going berserk, he hit Jiraiya with his cursed arm. Jiraiya immediately made a seal and launched ninjutsu, the technique of chaotic lion hair. He blended chakra into his hair, lengthened it, and formed a lion's head, first wrapped around Chang'o's arm, and then quickly extended until he wrapped Shigego's entire body and controlled his movements. Shikamaru, who heard the movement outside, breathed a sigh of relief, and sighed in his heart that he had finally come. It turned out that when Shikamaru and his party set off, Jiraiya also gave him a blade with a special mark, Flying Thunder God. As long as this blade is located, Jiraiya can pass through the original 4 generations of Hokage Namaifung Minato. The teleportation of the 3 guards can reach the side of the cutting tool at any time. On their way here, Jiraiya was also worried about the situation here, so the Hokage 3 guards teleported him first, but they appeared just before Chang'o started, preventing him from unlocking Uchiha Madara's immobilization. And Chang'o, who was trapped in Jiraiya's hair, did not stop. He activated the curse to the 2nd stage. He compresses the cells on his skin and becomes like a barnacle, releasing compression at 0 distance. Afterwards, the chakra shell blew up Jiraiya's hair, and he was freed from it. When Jiraiya confronted Shigego, Shikamaru was not idle either. He quietly approached Suzuki with a part of his shadow, trying to immobilize him. However, Suzuki's power of observation is still very strong, and he immediately noticed the shadow moving towards him like a snake, so he hurriedly evaded, so he stopped attacking Shikamaru. At this time, Shikamaru unlocked the shadow escape, and concentrated on manipulating the shadow to capture Shueyu, shadow binding. The shadow under him split into several snake-like shapes to encircle Shueyu. In order to avoid Shikamaru's shadow, Shueyu launched the hydration technique to make her body liquid, greatly improving her agility and ignoring physical attacks. This was exactly what Shikamaru wanted. He took out a small scroll from the pocket on the shinobi. After opening it, the word, water, was printed on it. He released the water in the scroll and quickly spread to the feet of Suzui. Shueyu laughed inwardly. She was already such an obvious water ninja, and Shikamaru was still using tricks like water. Wasn't she helping herself? After that, Shueyu was completely hydrated, immersed her body into the water that Shikamaru had just released, and then rapidly expanded its volume, turning into a water monster almost as big as Uchiha Madara's Susanoo, and attacked Shikamaru. Shikamaru unhurriedly pulled out another scroll with the thunder attribute from his pocket, and released the lightning ninjutsu. In an instant, the thunder and lightning spread from the water in front of Shikamaru, and any place with water could not escape. Robbery. Shueyu, who was completely restrained by Lei Dun, was quickly defeated. His whole body was paralyzed by lightning, his body began to melt, and he had no extra strength to move. At this time, Shikamaru took the opportunity to launch the shadow imitation technique, to completely control the water moon. On the other hand, facing Changwu, who is cursed, Jirai has always been in the defensive stage, because Changwu's speed and strength are higher than him, unless Jirai also activates the immortal mode, but he has to summon the two great toad immortals of Miaomu Mountain. Fukusaku and Shima need a long time, and now there is no way to activate the immortal mode. Axe smashing and smashing. Shigego smashed hard at Jiraiya, and Jiraiya evaded the attack. At the same time, Shigego kicked up with a kick faster than him and rushed towards Jiraiya. Jirai also took the opportunity to launch ninjutsu, Toad Oil Bomb. First, a large amount of oil was spit out from his mouth and stuck to Chango, slowing down his speed in a certain sense, and then he launched Fire Escape. Flame Bomb, to kill Chango. The whole body was ignited, and the fiercely burning flames were even more fierce with the help of oil. After a burst of fire, Shigego was burned to ashes, but because it was a body reincarnated from dirt, he was quickly resurrected again. Jirai also realized that such an attack was completely useless, and he was just wasting chakra, so he immediately changed his mind and should change from attacking to controlling, just like Shikamaru. Spirituality. Overwhelming the street vendor. Jiraiya summoned a giant toad named Yansu from Miaomu Mountain and fell from the sky, crushing his opponent with the help of his downward force. Due to his huge size, Shigego didn't plan to escape at all, and he could be resurrected anyway. But just as the big toad was about to press on Chango, it suddenly opened its mouth wide and swooped down, eating Chango in one bite. At the same time, Jiraiya also ran to Toad's side and launched ninjutsu, Toad Mouth-Bound Art. Toad Yansu's stomach began to grow rapidly, wrapping Changwu's entire body in its stomach, completely restricting it. Re-emphasize my actions. Yansu Toad, you've worked hard. Zilai also patted its body with a smile, and then asked, how about the Toad Boss and the two immortals? Are your injuries better? They are still recovering. The last time they fought with Uchiha Obito, they were tortured by you, and they said that they would never make trouble with you again. Iwasu said. Ha ha ha, then you apologize to them for me. Zilai also smiled awkwardly. Okay, goodbye. After Yansu finished speaking, he was about to return to Miaomu Mountain, but was stopped by Jiraiya. Wait a minute, by the way, take the one over there too. Jiraiya pointed to Suzuki, who was controlled by Shikamaru. Yansu opened his mouth and jumped over. Shueyu was so frightened that she snotted and cried, shouting for forgiveness. Let me go, I don't want to stay in the stomach of a toad forever, it's just too. However, Yansu Subiyu gave him a chance to say more, swallowed him in one bite, and then returned to Miaomu Mountain. The rest of them were still fighting their respective Shirai clones, but now was not the time to help them. Both Jiraiya and Shikamaru looked in the direction of Orochimaru and nodded in agreement. The seal class will feel that they will seal Uchiha Madara, and we will deal with Orochimaru. Jiraiya frowned and said, I'm a little worried that he hasn't reincarnated like the first Hokage yet. The ninja, I don't know if he is playing other abacus. I am not sure, but I'll find out after a test. Shikamaru said, and then followed Jiraiya to going in the direction of Orochimaru. Orochimaru on the other side also noticed the two of them, but there was no trace of worry on his face. Seeing this, Junmaro asked, Lord Orochimaru, what should we do now? Just the two of us may not be able to defeat them, do you want to reincarnate more helpers? Xiangling was also slightly worried. Orochimaru shook his head and asked, why are we here? Chapter 411, The Battle Begins. In the different space, Nagato, who had sealed part of the eight-tailed chakra into the outward magic way, was about to put away the outward magic way. At this time, a little girl appeared in front of him with a dying boy on his back. That's really good work, Nagato. Lin Xiaoyu grinned and put Sora on the ground, then stretched and complained, it's really tiring, I've been carrying it all by myself from Kurabi to Sora. Who are you? Nagato became vigilant. It was the first time he had met someone who could enter this different dimension at will, and he could not believe that he could capture two-tailed beasts by himself. Huh. Lin Xiaoyu looked at Nagato, suddenly patted her head, and remembered that in order to control Uchiha Itachi, she lifted the settings for Nagato. She hurriedly said embarrassedly, forgot to introduce myself. My name is Lin Xiaoyu, we actually met once, but you forgot. But these are not important. You should hurry up and seal the nine-tailed chakra into the outward magic way. I don't have much time, don't dawdle. Nagato was unmoved, staring at the young man in front of him and said, he's not Jori from the Nine Tails. Naruto doesn't know where he is now, so I use him instead. He has a part of the nine-tailed chakra in his body, which is enough for summoning the ten-tailed. Lin Xiaoyu explained. Then you will seal him. Come on. I'm going to take Uchiha Itachi to capture the last-tailed beast, the one-tailed Morizuru. After finishing speaking, Lin Xiaoyu was about to leave, but was stopped by Nagato. Wait a minute, I don't want to be kept in the dark. What has Xiao experienced and who are you? At this time, Lin Xiaoyu's patience was also exhausted, her face was expressionless, and her voice was cold. Just do what you should do, collect tailed beasts, summon 10 tails. You did to him after Yahiko died. What kind of commitment is best remembered? Quote. She even knew about Yahiko, and Nagato was even more sure that Lin Xiaoyu was not an ordinary person. He didn't want to let himself be led by the nose all the time, so he said with a strong attitude, I won't seal the nine-tailed chakra if I don't explain it clearly. After he finished speaking, he put away the outward magic way. Lin Xiaoyu looked back at him and asked, so you want to rebel? You can try it. If that's the case, then try. Wind escape. Gale palm. Nagato's chakra metamorphosed to generate wind, and use the clapping as an opportunity to compress the wind and evolve it into a violent wind, attacking Lin Xiaoyu. However, Lin Xiaoyu didn't move, and, Gale wind palm, passed through her body without causing any harm to her. Nagato was stunned. He knew only Obito with such an ability. It was obviously the ability to write round eyes, but Lin Xiaoyu didn't write round eyes at all. How on earth did she do it? Is it some other ninjutsu? Not reconciled, he continued to launch ninjutsu, Universal Pull. This technique can forcibly attract specified objects within a certain range, and can also manipulate the affected objects at will, and the affected objects are irresistible. However, Universal Pull still has no effect on Lin Xiaoyu. This made Nagato panic. What's wrong? Lin Xiaoyu sneered and asked, continue. From the two tests just now, Nagato already knew that Lin Xiaoyu was not an ordinary person. He didn't use any ninjutsu anymore, but said, I want to see Xiaonan. She should be in Konoha's prison now. After you have done what you should do, I promise you will see her. Lin Xiaoyu said. No, right now, if I don't see her, I won't do anything. Nagato said firmly. Lin Xiaoyu sighed, knowing that Nagato is not someone who accepts orders, so now she has to plan more carefully. Uchiha Itachi has the other god of Shisui, so he can't easily unravel the setting for him, and Uchiha Obito is the only candidate other than Uchiha Madara who is suitable to be the 10-tailed person Zuri, because he has 1,000 hands in his body. There is still one Orochi pill left, and the 5 shadows should have been seriously injured by now, and only the task of sealing one tail is left. So, I had to give up the Orochi pill first. After she cancelled the setting of Orochimaru, she looked at Nagato again, and invaded his brain and began to modify it. These operations are not complicated. Lin Xiaoyu quickly regained control of Nagato and asked him to seal the 9-tailed chakra. He had to rush to the battlefield with Uchiha Itachi to bring one back. Nagato looked at Sora on the ground and didn't think about anything. He directly activated the psychic technique, summoned the outward magic path, and began to seal the 9-tailed chakra. The war lasted for a long time, the light was already dim, and the moon did not know when it was already high in the sky. When Jiraiya faced Orochimaru again, he once again found his mind so incomprehensible. When he was in the Konoha forest, he fought alongside him to deal with Shao, but now he appeared on the battlefield and attacked the 5 shadows. I really don't understand what he was thinking. Also confused is Orochimaru himself. His memory is still stuck in the first time he met Lin Xiaoyu. This little girl predicted a lot of future things for him and invited Orochimaru to cooperate with her. But when Lin Xiaoyu said she came from another world, Orochimaru began to have a strong interest in the world she described, but there was nothing for him to explore in his own world, so Orochimaru told Lin Xiaoyu launched an attack, trying to take her body and find the answer by herself in her mind. However, Lin Xiaoyu, who is immune to any attack, Orochimaru discovered such an interesting thing for the second time. The first time was when he discovered Uchiha Itachi's ability to write round eyes. Just when Orochimaru was about to use the spell seal technique to continue testing Lin Xiaoyu's ability, Lin Xiaoyu took the lead and reset Orochimaru's mind. In fact, she didn't need to do this at all, because even if he didn't control Orochimaru, he would still help Lin Xiaoyu, because as a scientist, exploring the unknown is his eternal interest. Although he didn't know why he appeared on the battlefield and Uchiha Madara appeared in the dirt, Orochimaru could almost guess that it was Lin Xiaoyu's ghost. He issued wickedly, stretched out his snake-like tongue and licked his own mouth, and said, "That kid's world must be very interesting. No matter what the price is, I must go there and check it out." Exactly. Seeing that Jiraiya had already run over, Junmaro took the lead to fight without waiting for Orochimaru's orders. Koryo also stood in front of Orochimaru and made a fighting stance. "Shikamaru, Xiangling will be handed over to you, if you can," Jiraiya said while forming a seal. "It would be even better if you could immobilize Orochimaru." Shikamaru said what he wanted to say. "Although it is troublesome, let's try." Chapter 412. Jiraiya's bond with Orochimaru. Regarding the relationship between Jiraiya and Orochimaru, we have to talk about it from their childhood. Orochimaru, whose parents died when he was a child, graduated from the ninja school at the age of 6, and later became a student of Sarutobi Hizen together with Jiraiya and Tsunade. He was rated as a talented teenager, a genius who only appeared in decades. Therefore, Jiraiya felt jealous, and the relationship between the two has always been in a state of mutual support and competition. Seeing the deaths of his parents and companions, the kind-hearted Orochimaru felt that life was so fragile, so he began to study the path of immortality. In the Second Ninja World War, Orochimaru, Jiraiya and Tsunade teamed up to fight against Yuyan Village's leader, Sanshoyu Hanzo. All the other ninjas were killed and injured. Only the 3 of them supported the end, so Hanzo called them Konoha Sanin, and let them go. In the mission of Yuyan Village that year, the 3 of them encountered Yahiko, Konan and Nagato who were orphans in the war. Because they saw too many dead people, Orochimaru wanted to kill them so that they would not suffer more in the future. However, Jiraiya also disagreed with him, and stayed to take care of the 3 orphans, teaching them the ninjutsu to survive. When Orochimaru was appointed at the root, he devoted himself to the study of forbidden techniques, and used the village ninja as the experimental object, so that the 3 generations of Hokage Sarutobi Hizen noticed his actions and prepared to kill Orochimaru, but in the end, it was the one he was most proud of. Disciple, so the 3 generations who couldn't bear it let go of Orochimaru, and finally he betrayed Konoha and became betrayal. When he betrayed Konoha, Jiraiya chased after him to keep him, but he still couldn't change his decision to betray Konoha. Jiraiya later blamed himself for not being able to persuade his good friend who went astray back then, so he refused to become the 4th Hokage, and chose to collect information outside and track the whereabouts of Orochimaru. Later, Orochimaru received an invitation letter from the Akatsuki organization. After knowing that there was a lot of material that could be researched inside, he carelessly joined them. Later, he left Akatsuki because of the different goals. Later, Orochimaru gathered his forces and established his own ninja village in the country of Tien, named Yinyan Village. During this period, he completed the forbidden technique, reincarnation, developed by the 2nd generation Hokage, and his strength was doubled, so he was able to escape the many pursuits of the Akatsuki organization. Just when Junmuro was about to fight Jiraiya, he suddenly stopped moving. It turned out to be controlled by Orochimaru. Kimimaro, I will deal with Jiraiya. Orochimaru said, you stay with Xiangling. Yes, Orochimaru-sama, Kunmaro said and backed up to Xiangling, then alerted Shikamaru. Seeing Orochimaru walking towards him, Jiraiya couldn't help but feel a burst of sadness in his heart. This former companion really can't be brought back. Orochimaru, who sensed Jiraiya's inner activity, smiled at him and said, there is no need to show such an expression. We just have different paths. You are looking for the relationship between your companions. I am looking for this world the truth. You are only my stumbling block. After you have found all the truths, you are the only one left. Do you still think these truths are important? Asked Zilai also. If it's just that there is no one around me, that's fine. After all, the purpose of my life is the truth, and these truths may be exchanged for helping others and reducing some pain in the world. Orochimaru said. The first time he heard Orochimaru's words, he couldn't tell whether he was relieved or sad, but he quickly calmed down and continued to ask. You are now exchanging everyone's life for the so-called truth. Orochi Pill, this is just your excuse. There are no more people. What truth still exists? That's just your understanding. What is the truth of this world? I'm afraid I'm a little closer than you. The world itself is a nihilistic existence, and the real truth exists in the outside world. Orochimaru thought of Lin Xiaoyu. If so, she came from another world, and this world was created by the people of their world. Thinking of this, Orochimaru's heart is also full of sadness. Is the truth always so hard to believe? He had to find out. Everyone is dead, what's the use of asking for truth? Zilai also asked. You don't understand, Orochimaru said. The two of them were silent for a while. Junmaru and Shikamaru were fighting beside them, and the 5 shadows and a few Konoha ninjas in the distance were also working hard on their own, forming a strong contrast to them. After a while, Jiraiya opened his mouth slowly and said, no matter what, I will try again and pull you back. Orochimaru said with a rare seriousness on his face, sad. Fire escape. Haoyan spiral pill. Jiraiya made a seal with both hands, adding the property change of fire attribute to the original wind attribute spiral pill, creating a red and burning spiral pill. And Orochimaru also quickly formed a seal and launched the psychic technique inherited from the first Hokage, 3 gates of life. Summoned the 3 gates of Shira from hell and blocked it in front of Orochimaru. Jiraiya held the Huyan spiral pill in his hand and attacked the Mie Luo gate of life. Under the huge power of ninjutsu, the first and second gates were broken, and only the third gate was left. The triple gate blocked Jiraiya's attack. Jiraiya also did not compromise. He increased his strength in his hand, and finally broke the third gate. At this time, the spiral pill was also exhausted. At this moment, the old friends of the past started a close-quarters fight with fists to the flesh. Once under the training of Mr. Sarutobi Hizen, the pictures of them fighting each other as children flickered in front of them. This battle of fate cannot be avoided. It finally kicked in. The array of 10,000 snakes. Orochimaru channeled countless snakes out of his mouth and attacked Jiraiya. In the face of the astonishing number of snakes, Jiraiya hurriedly launched ninjutsu. Hair Needle 1000. He put chakra into his hair to harden it, and launched it like a rainstorm, suppressing Orochimaru's snake group, and destroy them one by one. On the other hand, Shikamaru used the shadow binding technique to entangle Junmaro, but Junmaro stretched the bones on his back and attacked Shikamaru with sharp bone spurs. Shikamaru quickly backed away to keep a distance from him, and at this moment threw a flash bomb behind him. The strong light illuminated the huge shadow in front of Shikamaru. He pushed his hands towards Junmaro and launched ninjutsu, Shadow Palm, the art of pressure. The giant shadow of the giant hand that became huge due to the flash bomb slapped him on the ground, and after the light disappeared, the shrunken shadow quickly returned to its original shape, immobilizing him. Chapter 413. Respectful Helpers. Seeing that Junmalu was immobilized, Xiangling didn't stand by. She launched a sealing technique unique to the Uzumaki family, which instantly exploded the chakra and formed a chain, tying Shikamaru, who had no time to react. Kimura was freed from the shadow and did not attack Shikamaru. He would not act without Orochimaru's order. What's more, Orochimaru asked Jiraiya to fight one-on-one, and this was just as he wanted. If you use the immortal mode, you might be able to compete with me, Orochimaru said proudly to him after dodging Jiraiya's spiral pill. Unfortunately, it takes a long time to activate the immortal mode. You know quite well, Jiraiya said while launching ninjutsu, Fire Escape. Dragon Fire Technique. The fire dragon condensed from chakra roared and opened its bloody mouth and bit Orochimaru. Orochimaru responded calmly, launched the snake step technique, and released 2 giant snakes to resist the fire dragon's attack. The giant snakes bit the fire dragon into 3 pieces with 2 bites, and then spit out the snake letter and swam towards Zilai. Jiraiya hurriedly launched ninjutsu. Needle Jizo. He condensed the chakra in his hair, made the hair as hard as a needle, and then wrapped himself up. 2 giant snakes wrapped around Jiraiya's body, and as the stiff hairpins stretched, they quickly pierced through the 2 snakes' bodies. I'm really impatient, then please try this trick and see if you can stop it, Orochimaru said, and quickly formed a seal and launched a ninjutsu, Kusofizian Sword. Sora no Sword. The sword is an artifact summoned from Orochimaru's body. It is known as an indefensible divine sword. He can freely control the sword, and he can change his mind at will, or attack others. The grass pheasant sword floated in the air, and then attacked Jiraiya. Jiraiya didn't have the ninjutsu to defend against this sword, so he had to move his body to avoid it. Unfortunately, Orochimaru's manipulation was extremely sharp, and his speed was much faster than Jiraiya's. So Jiraiya was pierced through the chest by the grass pheasant sword before he could dodge. However, Orochimaru didn't show a very proud expression. He clearly saw that there was no blood on Jiraiya's body, that is to say, what he killed was just a shadow clone that was summoned at an unknown time. Sure enough, after a puff of white smoke, the avatar Jiraiya disappeared out of thin air, and where the real Jiraiya was at this time, Orochimaru still didn't know, so he had to turn around and shout, Xiangling. Xiangling immediately began to perceive, and soon found chakra of Jiraiya. She reported, in your 3 o'clock direction, about 12 meters. After that, Orochimaru again controlled the grass pheasant sword and attacked in the direction pointed by Xiangling. There was a large scattered rock there, and Jiraiya was behind it. The pheasant sword went straight towards the rock and passed through it, leaving only a fist-sized hole in it. Soon Orochimaru realized that something was wrong. He couldn't feel the existence of the grass pheasant sword, it disappeared. Behind the rock, Jiraiya, who had just activated the fire sealing seal, finally breathed a sigh of relief and seemed to have caught up. It turned out that from the way he ran to Orochimaru with Shikamaru just now, Jiraiya had already activated the clone technique, letting the clone deal with Orochimaru, while his own body hid aside and activated the immortal mode. Just before the pheasant sword pierced the rock and attacked Jiraiya, the immortal mode was successfully activated, and then he used the sealing technique to seal the pheasant sword in his scroll. At this time, there were two more living creatures on Jiraiya's broad shoulders. They were the toad immortal from MT. Meowmu, Fukasaku and Shima. Little Jiraiya, why did you summon us again? Immortal Fukasaku complained with a displeased expression. The child's mother's tongue has not been healed, and the wound on it has not healed. Forget it, I must have encountered some powerful people again, and Xiao Zilai can't beat him. Immortal Zima spoke carefully, avoiding the wound. Zilai also touched the back of his head and explained embarrassedly. I am sorry, I've been meeting some powerful people recently, so please both of you. Okay, who is this time? Immortal Fukasaku asked. Jiraiya stood up, pointed to the Orochimaru opposite, and said, it's him. Isn't he that Orochimaru? Immortal Fukasaku asked. I remember he was your companion. It's a pity that it's not anymore. He colluded with Akatsuki to start the Fourth Ninja War. I used to want to bring him back to Konoha, but now I have to defeat him. Jiraiya said. Could it be that last time you said there would be a turmoil in the ninja world, the Fourth Ninja War? Shima frowned and said, it's really strange, the old man has no prophecy at all. This matter is very complicated. I'll explain it to you one by one after the battle is over. Jiraiya said, get ready, we're going to go. On the other side, Orochimaru saw that Jiraiya had also invited two immortals to help him. Not to be outdone, he launched a ninjutsu, reincarnation of the dirt. Two wooden coffins slowly rose from the ground, and two wooden coffins came out from the coffins. A ninja, one wearing red ninja armor, one wearing blue ninja armor. Although he has not been awakened, it is enough to shock everyone present with his own momentum. That's it. Jiraiya's eyes widened, and his footsteps involuntarily started to step back in shock. The first Hokage and the second Hokage. Senju Hasuma and Senju Tobirama. Fukasaku was also surprised. I didn't expect Orochimaru to be able to summon them. This situation is a bit unfavorable for us. It's more than a disadvantage. Shima said with a worried look. It's an overwhelming situation. Both Hokage are on the stage. Where do we get the odds of winning? Before the two brothers Senju Hasuma and Senju Tobirama regained consciousness, Orochimaru quickly put the spell that controlled them from the back of their heads, and then completely blocked their consciousness and controlled them only by himself. Jiraiya, give you a chance to surrender, or you will die ugly. Orochimaru laughed. Hee, a person doesn't look at how he lives, but how he dies. Even if there is no chance of winning, I won't give up like this. Zilai also said this. In fact, he was giving himself a strong momentum, and then he started with his hands. End print. Zima, who was on the side, saw that it was the handprint for unlocking the immortal mode, and hurriedly stopped him, and blamed. What's wrong? I looked down on the two of us. Do you want to drive us away? Fukasaku and his wife thought about going together, and he also scolded Jiraiya. Bastard, are you the only one who won't give up? It's like we are greedy for life and afraid of death. Zilai also looked at the two of them, lowered his head and smiled, then he let go of Yuyan's hand and raised his head with a fierce look. Chapter 414, The Death of Jiraiya. Okay, let them see, none of the toads of our Meowmu Mountain are cowards. Zilai also said. If that's the case, then enjoy it. Orochimaru finished the seal with both hands, and manipulated the first Hokage and the second Hokage to attack Jiraiya. In a simple fighting technique, when two people on the opposite side attack together, Jiraiya also seems to be weak, but because the two toad immortals on his shoulders act as his eyes, he can observe the attacks of the two Hokage in a large area. You can still fight them. Soon, because of the power of immortality, he kicked out the first generation and the second generation. Immediately afterwards, Jiraiya and the two toad immortals jointly launched a celestial art, Senfa. Gomon. Immortal Fukasaku's oil, Jiraiya's fire escape, and Shima Immortal's wind evasion were used to activate the immortal art. The mighty flames swiftly attacked them. The second Hokage, who was in the flames, launched a ninjutsu, water escape. Water wall. He condensed the chakra in his mouth, spit out a large amount of water around him and the first Hokage, blocking Jiraiya's attack. It can be seen how strong the second-generation water escape is. The water escape of this scale is issued in a place where there is no water at all, and the ninjutsu is used to directly compete with the immortal art, which surprised Jiraiya. Next, the second Hokage stretched his hands forward, then retracted his hands to his chest, and launched a ninjutsu in a special not-seal method, water escape. Water dragon bullets. Soon, it gathered around him again. An astonishing amount of water forms the shape of a water tornado, and then attacks Jiraiya like a giant dragon. Jiraiya also hurriedly united with the two-toed immortals to launch an immortal art, Shanshu. Earth formation wall. The three of them worked together to lift up a thick, hard, mountain-like dirt wall in front of them, barely blocking it. Attack of the giant water dragon. A large amount of water turned the surrounding environment into a lake, which was more conducive to the attack of the second-generation Hokage. He used the environment of the surrounding lake to compress the water cannonball into the size of a bullet with high strength, and fired it towards Jiraiya. The earth formation wall could not resist its attack at all. It was beaten into a sieve by the dense water cannonballs, and finally collapsed and scattered into large and small stones, all of which fell into the water. Jiraiya also used the power of immortal art to improve his body agility and escaped the attack of the second Hokage. When he fell back to the surface of the water and finally could take a breath, he felt the vibration from below the surface of the water. He clearly saw some twisted black shadows stirring under the water surface, and began to rise towards the water surface, and when they broke out of the water, Jiraiya realized what these were. This is the original Hokage's unique wooden escape technique, and the tree world is born. Jiraiya said while avoiding the huge tree trunk rising from the ground. As a result, because there were too many trees, he was also carried into the air by a branch of the tree trunk. Had to jump around to avoid the branches that they could extend at any time, and it was not a good thing to be attacked. However, Jiraiya was finally caught by some soft and tough rattan, and spread quickly on him, and together with the two-toed immortals, he was completely tied to a thick tree trunk. The first Hokage turned chakra into a source of life and created a large number of trees, which grew wildly and soon turned the surrounding environment into a forest. I finally caught it. Orochimaru came under the tree, stared at Jiraiya who was tied to the trunk and said, "I told you earlier that if you surrender, you don't have to suffer this crime." Jiraiya couldn't speak at all, his whole body was strangled by rattan, even the beating of his heart was suppressed, and he couldn't breathe. The toad immortals on both sides are also in the same state. They are not as good as death because of suffocation, and they can't open their eyes in pain. As time passed by, Xiangling could feel the chakra of Jiraiya and immortal toad being lost little by little, that is to say, they died immediately. Orochimaru turned around, and he didn't want to see Jiraiya's tragic death. Although he felt sorry in his heart, as a person who prevented him from seeking the truth, there was no reason to let him go. People will change eventually, and some people keep sticking to their beliefs just because they may die before they change. The world is unpredictable and cannot do what one wants. Just like our three tolerances, it is impossible to always be as solid as a rock, no matter how good the relationship is. There must be a crack somewhere. Then let me play the bad guy, and let me prove with my actions that the direction you are chasing is not wrong. Orochimaru said these words involuntarily, with his eyes fixed on the moon above his head. The people on the other side who were fighting against Baiju's clone also noticed the movement here. The forests and lakes that appeared out of thin air were not so easy to ignore. Seeing his grandfather's unique wooden escape technique, Tsunade knew it by guessing. It was Orochimaru who reincarnated the first Hokage Naruto. That bastard. Tsunade gritted his teeth in anger, clenched his fists and swung hard at the opposite self, while Baiju Tsunade threw his fists like her, and with the same strength, the two couldn't tell the difference. Realizing that Jiraiya was not the opponent of the first Hokage, Tsunade became more and more anxious. She wanted to end the battle here early and help him, but the more anxious she was, the less she could find the opponent's flaws. Suddenly, Tsunade thought of a way. She temporarily distanced herself from Baiju Tsunade, and then launched a psychic technique, summoned a medium-sized slug from the wet bone forest, and then launched the splitting technique to split the medium-sized slug. It turned into countless little slugs, and some of them climbed onto the backs of the Shadow and Konoha ninjas on the battlefield to help them deliver chakra and heal. The other part rushed in the direction of Jiraiya, looking at the dozen or so slugs that were far away. Tsunade prayed silently in his heart, hoping to help Jiraiya, and at the same time hope that he would not have an accident. No, it should be hoping that something will happen to him. After all, he will lose every time he gambles. When a few slugs climbed in from the back of the forest, they sensed Jiraiya's position using the veins of the trees. They quickly climbed up to Jiraiya's side, and only when they touched Jiraiya's body did they move, found out one step too late. The slug has the ability of chakra transmission, visual sharing and intelligence transmission, so Tsunade, who is fighting here, can also know the situation there. When she learned that Jiraiya had stopped breathing, the movement in her hand gradually became slow. The pupils in the eyes gradually enlarged, and the whole person fell into a state of trance. In front of Tsunade's eyes, he only saw Baiju Tsunade throwing a fist at his face, then his eyes went black, and he didn't know anything, and he could only hear the noisy voices of the people around him. Tsunade-ji, what's wrong with you? Hokage. Tsunade-sama. In addition, there was a very clear and tender voice that echoed in her ears. The first time we met, my name is Jiraiya, give me the love letter later. Chapter 415, Chirabi joins the war. After Jiraiya and Fukasaku and his wife died, Orochimaru controlled the first Hokage and the second Hokage to rush in the direction of Gokage. They still had one last task to complete, and that was to kill Gokage. Shikamaru was bound by Xiangling with a chakra chain and watched Jiraiya die with his own eyes, but he was helpless. The strong self-blame made him bow his head and choked up. If he hadn't been so careless, he might have been able to help him. Orochimaru noticed Shikamaru, then walked behind him and slapped him on the back of the neck, knocking him unconscious. Xiangling, are they coming soon? Orochimaru asked. Well, I'll be there soon. Xiangling said. Well, you can step back first. The current strength of the 5 shadows has been weakened, and the other Konoha little ghosts are also easy to deal with, and the rest will be handed over to the first and second generations, and Uchiha Madara. Orochimaru said, and started ninjutsu, recalled Junmaro and Kaling back into the coffin, and then sank into the ground. Just in case, Orochimaru placed a spell on Shikamaru and walked towards the 5 shadows. The first Hokage took the lead in launching ninjutsu, wooden. The technique of the wooden man. He used the wood attribute chakra to create a wooden man almost the same size as Susanoo-hue, and then waved his fist at the people on the ground and smashed it down. Regardless of Baiju's safety, he will attack any moving object he sees. After a frantic punch, a huge amount of dust was raised, and it was impossible to see what was going on below. However, when the dust cleared, we could see the hellish scene in front of us. Those who didn't have time to escape were all smashed to death by huge wooden fists, and the only people left were Raikage and Gaara. The smell of blood permeated the land, and the expressionless face of the first Hokage was like the god of death in hell, annotating the survivors, and then he manipulated the wooden man to wave his fist again and smashed them down. Gaara hurriedly manipulated the sand and wanted to use the empty sand barrier to carry the wooden man's attack, but because there was no ultralight heavy rock technique of Tsuchikage Onogi to reduce the weight of the sand, and the chakra was almost exhausted, he can't condense the sand at all. Seeing that the giant fist was swung to the top of the two of them, only a sound of, yo! Tail beast bomb, was heard from a distance, and a high-density compressed black sphere hit the wooden man's body, knocking it out. It was directly smashed into sawdust fragments, and the first Hokage fell from it. Hearing this familiar voice, I hurriedly looked back and saw a red monster with 8 tails galloping towards them not far away. Bye, cried I, recognizing his brother. Yo, big brother, you idiot, you were beaten miserably. Kurabi transformed from tail beast mode to normal body, came to Ai's side, just wanted to sing, you idiot, you bastard, but the result was before he opened his mouth, i.e. grabbed his head with a big hand. "Did you talk to Big Brother like that?" I shouted at him. "By the way, what are you doing here in such a dangerous place?" I heard that the Big Brother was in danger, and rushed to the rescue. The Union troops were behind and joined forces to fight against Orochimaru. After Kurabi finished singing, he asked the Big Brother's big hand, and then looked at the surrounding situation, and soon became serious. He asked, "Even Tukage, Hokage, and Mizukage were all sacrificed. What a tragic battle." On the opposite side are the first and second Hokage who were reincarnated by Orochimaru. They have unlimited chakra and can be resurrected infinitely. Unless you use a seal, you can't win. At this time Gaara also said, "There is another way to kill Orochimaru." "Yo, that's the snake-faced man over there. My uncle is going to meet him." As Kurabi said, he ran in the direction of Orochimaru. "Come back. Dangerous." I shouted and wanted to chase him, but because of his injuries, he fell to the ground after just 2 steps. Chirabi sensed the eldest brother's movement and complained, "I don't know why you squeeze me so hard, you idiot, you bastard." At the same time, the second Naruto stood in front of Kurabi and launched a ninjutsu against him, Water Escape. Water Wave Break. This powerful attack type of ninjutsu gathers chakra in his mouth and sprays it out. The rapid ultra-high pressure water jet attacks the enemy, and the attack range can be changed with the size of the chakra. Kurabi instantly transformed himself into the half-tailed beast mode again, and his body changed significantly, but still maintained his human form. At the same time, his body overflowed with the red chakra of the tailed beast, and even grew white bones on the outside of his body. He opened his mouth and quickly fired 2 small, tailed beast bullets, to disperse the second-generation Hokage's water wave break. Then he used the fighting technique, Thunderplow Hot Knife, to quickly impact his skeletal body on the second-generation Hokage, completely smashing the second-generation body into pieces. Just when the second-generation Hokage was about to be resurrected, Kurabi saw the opportunity and launched the sealing technique, 100 million anger and counts troubled slaves. The resurrected second Hokage hugged and controlled his movements. As long as he persisted for 3 seconds, he could be completely dyed black, thus achieving the seal. But at this time, the first Hokage launched a ninjutsu, Wooden. The technique of the Wood Dragon. He used the wooden dragon created by the wooden chakra to quickly attack the second Hokage, and the moment before he was sealed he was smashed to pieces and thus freed from Kurabi's clone. "Do you use this method to release my seal?" Kurabi said. "It's really clever. It seems that we have to deal with this wood escape first." After speaking, Kurabi quickly gathered chakra again. As the most perfect the person Zuli, he and Yahweh's cooperation is simply perfect, and even a large-scale ninjutsu such as the tail beast can be completed in an instant. And the first Hokage also quickly launched ninjutsu, Wood Escape. The art of Wooden Man. Once again, a giant wooden man was created. Kurabi's tailed beast bomb was fired, but unexpectedly, the giant wooden man grabbed the tailed beast bomb with one hand, and then threw it at Kurabi, knocking him back to his original shape. "It's so strong, Mudun can catch even tailed beast bullets." At this time, the 8 tails in Kurabi's body said, "Don't attack these 2 ninjas who will be resurrected with all your strength. You should find a way to bypass them and attack Orochimaru." Quote, "I thought so too, but they are too strong. I can't break through their defenses. What should I do?" Kurabi said the truth. The first Hokage and the second Hokage are not so easy to deal with, especially the first generation, others but the ninja known as the God of Ninjas. At this time, the wooden man moved towards Kurabi and slammed his huge fist down at him. Kurabi hurriedly launched a complete tail beast transformation, and extended 8 octopus claws from his body to block the wooden man's attack. Chapter 416. Shuhei joins the battle. After the fully tailed beast Kurabi stretched out his 8 tails, although he blocked the giant fist of the wooden man, it was very reluctant. Soon another giant fist of the wooden man smashed towards Kurabi, and he would definitely not be able to hold this punch. At this moment, a voice came from behind the 8-tailed bull ghost, Wind Escape. Practice empty bombs. I saw the one-tailed beast Shuhei opened his mouth and absorbed the surrounding air forcefully, bulging his belly into a round sphere, and then slapped his belly hard, and fired air cannonballs from his mouth, shattering the weak joints on the wooden man's arm. Yahweh took the opportunity to knock down the wooden man with his fists and was able to escape from it. Then he distanced himself from the first Hokage, and turned around and roared at Shuhei, "Stinky Tanuki, why is it appearing now? Che, Niugwe, I don't believe in your human strength like you do. I have to wait for that kid Gaara to appear weak." Shuhei complained, "Look at me now, even-tailed beast bullets can't show up. Can't send it out. Why are you so competitive?" Niugwe said, "The man who lent chakra to you, Zuli, cooperated with him. How dangerous is the situation now? Do you want to be arrested by Shao?" "No, I won't trust humans." Shuhei shook his head and said, "I won't trust anyone except my first person, the old monk Zulifan Fu, and Sandian village only uses me as a weapon. It's just for use, and now I'm here to help you. It's just for personal reasons, I just don't want to be sealed." Che, no matter what you think, if you can help out now, you have a conscience. Niugwe said, "The next is a 2-on-2 battle, let the opposite side see the power of our tailed beast." After finishing speaking, the bull ghost wrapped himself with 8 octopus tails and began to rotate violently, forming a strong storm and changing the surrounding terrain in a large range. The forest of the first Hokage was also razed to the ground, and the current scene is completely a large circular battle terrain. Che, what's so cool? Shukaku complained, then walked to Niugui's side and said to him, "I'll deal with the first Hokage, you deal with the second Hokage, and then take the opportunity to deal with Orochimaru." "That is the god of ninjas, are you sure?" Niugwe asked. "His wood dun requires feng dun to overcome. Your brute force is suitable for fighting against the second generation's water dun." Shohei analyzed. "If that's the case, then it's decided." Niugwe said to Shuhei earnestly, "Put down the hatred and try to believe in the power of people and pillars. Your cooperation can exert greater power. Speak up." Although Shuhei complained, but his heart began to shake a little. At this time, the second Naruto attacked them and launched ninjutsu, Water Escape. Water Dragon Bomb. He poured chakra into the water and condensed the water into the form of a water dragon to attack them. Seeing this, the bull ghost said to Kurabi, "Such a huge body is not easy to move, let's transform it into a half-tailed beast." After that, the size of the 8 tails was reduced to the size of Kurabi, and Kurabi led the body to fight. His body is wrapped in a chakra coat, and the white bones also grow from the body, which is more suitable for close combat. Then Kurabi dodged the attack of the water dragon bullet at super high speed, and came to the second Hokage's side in an instant, and then launched a fighting technique attack on him, Lei Plow Hot Knife. He stretched out his arms to attack the second Hokage's body. With this blow, he could kill him, and then he would be sealed before he was fully resurrected. Because of Shuhei's help, he was not afraid that the first Hokage would come to hinder him. However, the second generation also launched ninjutsu at the moment Kurabi attacked, Water Escape. Water Wall. A large amount of water was sprayed from his mouth around him, forming a high-speed rotating water wall, blocking the Chirabi's attack. The strength and endurance of the water will change according to the chakra of the second Hokage. Soon he will condense all the large water walls into high-density small water walls and block them in front of him. Due to the high density, the water walls are all it started to heat up and smoke. The scalding water wall didn't make Chirabi hold on for long. He gave up the Lei Plow Hot Knife, and switched to Head 8 Knives. He stepped back a dozen meters, and then aligned the horns and bones that extended from his head to the 2. On behalf of Hokage's water wall, and then used all his strength to attack the past. The water wall was smashed in an instant, but the second Hokage continued to maintain the form of the water wall with its own super strength, only Kurabi's head slammed into it. When Kurabi and the second Hokage were still competing, the first Hokage and Shukaku on the other side also started to fight. The first Hokage launched the Wood Dragon technique, using the wooden chakra to create a huge wood, and the dragon attacked Shuhei. Despite his fat body, Shuhei was very flexible. He grabbed the wooden dragon's neck with one hand and smashed its head into pieces with the other hand. However, Chakra, the god of ninjas, is known as the source of life. Even if the head is destroyed and can grow out in an instant, then he manipulates the wooden dragon to wrap around Shuhei, trapping him, and begins to tighten. And the tailed beast is a wind-tailed beast, which can absorb air and open its stomach to release ninjutsu such as air cannons, which is enough to prove how tough his body is. So before Mulong did not completely restrain him, he took a sharp breath and sucked a large amount of air around him into his stomach, and his body began to slowly expand to compete with Mulong in terms of strength. It didn't take long for Shuhei's body to swell to an incredible state, breaking Mulong's body until it fell apart. Immediately afterward, he slapped his stomach with both hands and issued a huge wind escape ninjutsu, wind escape. Super air bomb. Due to the absorption of too much air, Shuzuku did not launch an attack in the form of an air cannon this time. But with a powerful air column, it charged towards the first Hokage. The first generation hurriedly launched Spiritism, Gate of Life. He spirited out 5 giant ghost-faced iron gates from hell for defense. Shukaku's super air bomb shattered the Gate of Life in front of the triple Luo, but it was weakened a lot when it hit the 4th layer, and finally failed. Orochimaru, who was watching the battle, sighed, as expected of the first Hokage's strongest defense. Even I can only channel Mie Luo Gate of Life. If it were me, I might be killed by Shukaku, and Aikiao's strength is also it's very strong. Kurabi on the other side is still struggling to break through the water wall, but the chakra of the second generation Hokage is infinite, and he can only consume his own physical strength in this way. So he stretched out an octopus tentacle from behind, and while the second generation gathered all the water walls in front of the gap, he stretched his tail behind the second generation and wrapped it around. Yo, capture Hokage with ease, you idiot. You bastard, Kurabi sang excitedly. Chapter 417, Lin Xiaoyu joins the war. Kurabi, who grabbed the second generation Hokage with octopus tentacles, hurriedly activated the seal technique, billions of rages and troubles. He spat out ink from his mouth, and then transformed into 2 ink clones of himself, replacing the body to trap the second generation Hokage. Orochimaru saw that the second generation was about to be sealed, and he hurriedly used ninjutsu to take back the second generation, but Kurabi had already come to him at this time. Thunder Plow Hot Knife. The huge impact of the fighting technique hit Orochimaru's chest with blood, and even his ribs were exposed in the air. He was knocked out a dozen meters and rolled on the ground. He couldn't even breathe, and his lungs were completely beaten. Rotten. Seeing that Orochimaru had become like this, Kurabi stopped doing it and said, "You won't live long." Then he rushed to support Morizuru. And Orochimaru is not worried that he will die like this, because he can use any curse-marked ninja in Yinyan village to revive, but it will take longer. He is worried about whether he can make it before Lin Xiaoyu returns. Her world was resurrected before. After all, that world was where he wanted to go, and the truth was there. Be sure to catch up, Orochimaru said with the last of her strength, and then she stopped moving. When rushing to the back of the original Hokage, Kurabi launched a tailed beast at his back, intending to make a sneak attack. However, the first generation's perception ability was very strong, so he hurriedly turned around and launched a ninjutsu, wooden escape. The technique of ranking. Using chakra, he created a wooden shield shaped like a fangs and grimace, blocking the attack of the tailed beast bullet. Then the first Hokage activated the wooden escape enchantment and wrapped Shuhei's body with huge and tough vines. Unlike the wooden dragon, this elastic vine has a strong pulling ability, no matter how much Shuhei expands his body. The way to break them, the more they are tied, the more banned they are. No, you're too big, you should use a half-tailed beast like me and Kurabi to fight. Bull Ghost said. Damn, Shuhei scolded while tearing. I don't believe it. However, the truth was that when the vines wrapped Shuhei's entire tailed beast, he couldn't even speak. In the darkness, Shuhei and Gaara met, and for either of them, it was the fetters and pain of the other, restraining each other. Shuhei's pain lies in being manipulated by humans and used as a weapon, becoming a chess piece for human selfish desires and desires, without freedom. Gaara's pain lies in the fact that the evil beast that killed his mother, caused him to be isolated, and could not feel the warmth between people was sealed in his body. At this moment, the moment the two looked at each other, they both burst into tears. They both saw the pain and struggle in each other's heart, and they both wanted to get rid of these constraints, on the condition that they trust each other. Although the caster of reincarnation of Dirty Earth was temporarily dead, this forbidden technique still could not be solved. The first generation collected the surrounding natural power in an instant, and then activated the immortal mode, and he began to move for real. Shantha, Ming Shenman. He channeled a certain number of red Torii gates composed of 1 horizontal and 2 vertical columns from the sky, and pressed them on Kurabi's body, limbs, and neck. Chakra was completely sealed and controlled Kurabi's movements. Oops, bye, chakra won't be used now. Bold Ghost said painfully. Yo, it's dead. Kurabi was no longer in the mood to rap, he struggled hard, but these Torii were completely motionless, as if they were growing on the ground. Bastard, don't say such discouraged words. Nihu Gui cursed. The first Hokage ignored Kurabi, because his purpose was to keep the crane, and the last chakra could summon the 10 tails, so he walked to the huge vine sphere, ready to subdue the crane. At this moment, the vine sphere suddenly made a commotion, the middle position slumped suddenly, and then quickly swelled. A beam of light shone through the gaps in the vines until it exploded the entire vine sphere. Gaara, who was wrapped in a red-tailed beast chakra, walked out from the inside. A chakra tail behind him indicated that he had reached a consensus. Now, standing in front of the first Hokage at this moment is the duo. Quicksand Storm. Gaara stretched out his hand to seal, changing the environment of the entire surrounding area, instantly turning the surrounding into a desert. With the control of the sand, he created a vortex of quicksand under the feet of the original Hokage, sinking it into the depths of the ground. Immediately after he touched the surface of the desert with both hands, he launched a ninjutsu, Sandstorm Burial, to crush everything under the entire desert. Slowly, the first Hokage, who was about to be resurrected, appeared again not far in front of Gaara. His hands were quick and his eyes were fast, and he immediately launched a seal on it, Desert Burial Seal. He used sand to create a pyramid shape, which will not completely the resurrected first Hokage is sealed in the pyramid. After that, Shuhei's sand body spell seal strengthened the sealing ability, forming dense spells from the surface of the pyramid, sealing the first generation forever in the pyramid. Not bad, the perfect combination of Renjuli and Tail Beast, the two of you have finally become a duo. Nihu Gui praised. With the seal of the first generation, his immortal art, Mingmen God, was also automatically lifted. Kurabi got up from the ground, lifted the Tail Beast transformation, revealed his true body and gave Gaara a thumbs up. Perfect human pillar power, great, this is completely over. No, there is still a big problem that has not been resolved. Gaara said and looked at Uchiha Itachi, who was still in Susanoo's state. One more seal. Just when Gaara was about to launch the Desert Burial Seal on Uchiha Itachi, he was surprised to see a little girl standing in front of Uchiha Madara. I don't know when she appeared, and was bending over to prepare. Unplug the blade that Shikamaru uses to immobilize himself. Sand Shuriken. Gaara hurriedly used the shuriken made of sand to stop the girl from pulling out the blade, but an astonishing thing happened, the shuriken passed through the girl's body without causing any damage to her. Harm. When Lin Xiaoyu saw Gaara's attack passing through her body, she was stunned at first, then shook her head and said with a smile, "It's really too much." After speaking, she pulled out the blade and threw the in the desert, showing a disdainful expression. Madara Uchiha, who was behind her, twisted her neck, with a wicked smile on her face, and made a seal with her hands, reincarnation of Dirty Earth. Solution. At the same time, a person wearing Akatsuki's red cloud and black robe jumped down from Uchiha Madara's Susanoo. It was Uchiha Itachi. He stood beside Uchiha Madara and also activated ninjutsu, Suzin Zuonengu. A red giant of the god of war appeared from around his body, and he also held 2 divine weapons, an 8-foot mirror and a 10-fist sword. Chapter 418. The situation is urgent. 2 giants, one blue and one red, were standing behind Lin Xiaoyu. At this moment, the thin Lin Xiaoyu hockey leaked. "Oops, it looks like you caught a fake 8 tails," Lin Xiaoyu said to Uchiha Itachi. "Fortunately, it's really here, so I can catch it all in one go." When he fought with Itachi Uchiha before, Kurabi already knew that the little girl's abilities were weird, so he reminded Gaara, "The little girl is immune to all attacks, and the Akatsuki organization has the ability to bounce tailed beast bullets. Be careful." "Understood. It looks like Zhang Yang is from the outside world, but there are some differences between the two," Gaara said. "Compared to Zhang Yang, this little girl's ability seems to be better. Except for immunity to damage, I don't know if there are other abilities, but now I should concentrate on dealing with the 2 Uchiha family members." For Kurabi and Gaara, the 2 of them just played against the 1st and 2nd Hokage, and now they are such strong opponents, they are a little nervous. At this time, Madara Uchiha, who had unlocked the reincarnation of the Dirty Earth, glanced at Uchiha Itachi, who also opened Susanoo, and then looked at Lin Xiaoyu who was standing in front of him, and said, "Although I don't know who you are, it's a farce. This is over, the tailed beast is mine." "Really, men who talk a lot are not likable." Lin Xiaoyu looked back at Madara Uchiha coldly, and revised his settings. At present, he has set 3 people, 2 people from the Uchiha family behind him, and Nagato, who is sealing the 9 tails chakra in the different dimension. As for Obito, now there is Madara Uchiha who is stronger than him, so it is of little use value. In the different space, Obito and Kakashi are still fighting fiercely. From fighting technique, ninjutsu to illusion, they are almost tied. At this time, Lin Xiaoyu lifted the setting for Obito. He stopped the movement in his hand, suddenly lost his defense, and was pierced in the chest by Kakashi's move. "Obito, you!" Kakashi's eyes widened, and he pulled his hand out of Obito's body in surprise. He didn't expect that he would give up his defense and let himself attack his body. "Kakashi!" Obito called the name of the man in front of him, and then spit out a lot of blood from his mouth. He suddenly thought of something and said, "Rin. I saw Lin. I'm sorry." Kakashi felt a surge of grief in his heart. He hurriedly supported Obito who was about to fall, and kept saying, "I'm sorry. I can't afford to." Taking the lead with a smile and shaking his head, he said, I gave up my hatred, and Lin said she wanted to take me to the world over there, only me and her world. You guys are not allowed to follow me so early, do you hear?" Kakashi nodded, although he didn't know why Obito suddenly seemed to be a different person, but this was the real him. The kind and optimistic Uchiha took the lead. "Last time I gave you a shackle eye, this time I'll give you the other one too. Maybe you can use it." After saying that, Obito closed his eyes and left. World. Looking at Obito who died in his arms, Kakashi burst into tears. Like Lin, his companions all died in his hands, and he was at a loss for a while. Because of Obito's death, the barrier of Uchiha Flame Ore was automatically released. Kai, who had watched for a long time, walked over to Kakashi and patted him on the shoulder. "You have reunited him with the person he loves the most, don't blame yourself." Kai comforted, "We don't know what's going on outside, it's best not to waste time here, take Obito and go out together." "I understand." Kakashi calmed down his grief, stood up and launched Shenwei, and began to teleport the 3 to the real world. On the other side, Gaara, Kurabi and Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Itachi are about to fight, because they are concerned about the ability of Uchiha Itachi Susanoo's 8-foot mirror, so both Gaara and Kurabi are no more. Instead of using a tailed beast bullet, use a ninjutsu attack instead. Because the surrounding terrain is all desert, Gaara manipulated the sand, trying to pull Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Madara both inside Susanoo's body out of the giant's body with sand, and then seal it. However, the 2 of them were very vigilant and quickly avoided the attack of the sand, and jumped from the ground to the top of the giant Susanoo. At the same time, Madara Uchiha launched an attack, waving the blue sword in Susanoo's hand crossed, forming a chakra shockwave in the shape of an X, and launching it towards the opponent. Gaara hurriedly manipulated the sand to form the Shield of Sho Crane, which is called self-strengthening defense. He used chakra to apply pressure to mix the minerals with higher hardness in the ground into the sand, and condense the strong Sho Crane the size of a tailed beast. The statue stood in front of them. Coupled with the cooperation with Shuhei, the Shield of Shuhei, injected with the tailed beast chakra is stronger, and Uchiha Madara's attack did not break it at all. The two people hiding behind the Shield of Sho Crane began to discuss how to deal with the equally indestructible Susanoo. At this time, Reikage came to them and told them that he had cooperated with Onogi before and injected thunder chakra into his body. Later, I used the fighting technique to break Uchiha Madara's Susanoo. Gaara also remembered this, but Oyegi is dead now. Without his super light and heavy rock technique, there is no way to achieve such an effect. Perhaps you don't need a fighting technique to defeat the giants. Use ninjutsu, try combining my thunder and your wind. Kurabi said, you can only fight to the death and die with the enemy, yo. It can only be like this. Gaara controlled the sand to launch ninjutsu, the Spear of Sho Crane. He injected the tailed beast chakra into the sand to form a huge spear. At this time, the two brothers Reikage and Kurabi cooperate to inject the chakra of the thunder attribute into the Spear of the Crane Guard. At this time, a giant spear flashing with thunder and lightning is formed. The three of them worked together to launch it towards Madara Uchiha, but Itachi Uchiha stood in front of him at this time, used the 8-foot mirror to counter the Spear of Sho Crane, completely absorbed its ninjutsu, and then quickly bounced back. As a result, the strongest shield met the strongest spear, and the giant spear injected with the thunder attribute chakra was even better, piercing the shield of the crane, and destroying Gaara's strongest defense. Immediately afterwards, Madara Uchiha flew towards the three of them, waving his giant sword to harvest the heads, and Lin Xiaoyu reminded him to catch the ones alive. Kurabi and Gaara hurriedly transformed into the half-tailed beast mode, opened their mouths and began to gather chakras to launch the tailed beast bombs, but unfortunately there was not enough time. Madara had already come to them and swung the giant sword down. Chapter 419, Zhang Yang's Debut. Seeing that Uchiha Madara was about to attack Gaara and Kurabi, at this moment, the sky was covered with dark clouds, and a violent blue lightning fell from the sky, hitting Madara Uchiha's body and burning him all over. Immediately afterwards, a giant dragon emitting golden light swooped down from the clouds, pinched Susanoo of Madara Uchiha with its huge dragon claws, and crushed it with all his strength. However, because it was the body of the reincarnation of the dirt, Madara Uchiha was resurrected again. This time he did not go rashly again, because he was surprised by this giant dragon of unknown origin. Then I heard Zhang Yang's voice in the distance. There was a loud noise in the sky, and Zhang Yang made his debut. This kind of appearance really shocked everyone, especially Lin Xiaoyu, who can crush Uchiha Madara's Susanoo so easily. What is the origin of that giant dragon? For the scene where everyone was watching Fu Lang, Zhang Yang held a mouthful of old blood in front of his chest. He waved his hand in a decadent look, and shouted to everyone, "Hey, has anyone noticed me? Bright debut, no flowers to applaud." Lin Xiaoyu glanced at Zhang Yang and knew that his strength should not be underestimated, so he said to Uchiha Itachi, "Quickly fight, I don't have much time, catch the tailed beast immediately." Uchiha Itachi nodded, and launched ninjutsu in the direction of Ichi and Yasuo, Yasaka no Guyu. This is Uchiha Itachi's long-distance attack ninjutsu in Susanoo's state, and its shape is connected by a rope. The three hook jades are thrown out like a shuriken. Seeing this, Zhang Yang hurried to Gaara and the others, and stretched out his hand to prepare to resist Uchiha Itachi's attack. At this time, Fu Lang also entered Zhang Yang's body instantly and helped deliver his chakra to him. Seeing that Zhang Yang wanted to resist Uchiha Itachi's attack with his bare hands, Kurabi just wanted to pull him to escape, but was stopped by Gaara. He has seen Zhang Yang's strength, and even if he escapes, it is too late, so he can only believe that he can do it. The moment Zhang Yang's palm touched Yasaka's Guyu, he quickly began to absorb this ninjutsu until it was completely melted into his body, and then released it back to Uchiha Itachi. Yasaka's Guyu bounced back to Uchiha Itachi again, and he had to use the 8-foot mirror to resist the attack. The first time Kurabi saw Zhang Yang's ability, he was so surprised that he couldn't close his mouth. During the Five Shadows talk, Gaara had seen the scene of Zhang Yang absorbing Onagi's removal of the realm, and then reflecting it back, so he didn't. Too surprised, but seeing his strength again, Gaara is still a little unbelievable, it is too strong. Immediately after, Uchiha Itachi launched his highest level fire ninjutsu, Amaterasu. This is the pupil technique that resides in his right eye. By adjusting the focus of the eye, the black with extremely strong destructive power can be burned at the intersection point. A flame has the characteristic that it will not go out unless it burns out what it is burning. What's even more powerful is that this Amaterasu is controlled by Uchiha Itachi's mind. He seems to be attacking Zhang Yang, but in fact, after the black flames appear in front of Zhang Yang, they are forcibly divided into two parts by Itachi, bypassing Zhang Yang and clicking directly on the bodies of Gaara and Kurabi. Just a second before Zhang Yang was about to turn around to absorb the black flames on their bodies, he saw Uchiha Itachi's eyes, and in that second, he was hit by the Hitomi technique that was lodged in his left eye, Yu. Quote. This is the ultimate pupil technique of kaleidoscope Sharingan, which can move the opponent's spirit into the moon reading world created by the caster. In this world, both time and space are completely controlled by Uchiha Itachi. Although it can't cause physical damage, it can cause serious mental damage. In the world of monthly reading, no matter how long it takes, it is only a moment in the real world, so theoretically it cannot be cracked. After launching the month reading on Zhang Yang, Uchiha Itachi took away the black flames on Gaara and Kurabi, and then fell to the ground weakly. For him, using it twice in a row, Amaterasu, and a monthly reading, his eyes have begun to ooze blood, which is already the limit for him who suffers from a serious illness. At this time, Zhang Yang, who was in the Tsuki reading world, was nailed to the cross with a shuriken, and Uchiha Itachi in front of him held a slender ninja sword in his hand and kept stabbing his body. The intense pain caused Zhang Yang to let out a scream like a ghost and a wolf. He looked at his body that was stabbed into a sieve, and the blood continued to flow to the ground, dyeing the surrounding blood red. As another knife stabbed into Zhang Yang's body, he raised his head and shouted in pain, just in time to see the blood-red moon in the sky, with a shadow like a jade hook on it, which looked like a writing wheel, and then he suddenly remembered that he also has a shaker, which Uchiha Itachi handed to him shortly after he came to Naruto World. Zhang Yang seemed to have grabbed the life-saving straw. He immediately widened his eyes and turned on the writing wheel, staring at Uchiha Itachi, while Uchiha Itachi suddenly stopped and was about to stab the ninja knife at the hands that show the body. Tsuki reading world, it will only take a moment to return to the real world, so when Uchiha Itachi got up from the ground, he had already been hit by Zhang Yang's illusion, and his body could not move. Zhang Yang didn't feel so good when he came back to reality. He was severely mentally hurt by Uchiha Itachi's "you do," and he hasn't recovered yet, and he didn't even know that Lin Xiaoyu walked in front of him. But when he reacted, Lin Xiaoyu grabbed Gaara and Kurabi with both hands, her body began to blur, and she was about to enter the Shinwei space. When Zhang Yang supported his body to get up, it was too late. Lin Xiaoyu had already left the real world, and entering the world of Shinwei requires a shaky eye. Zhang Yang was helpless for a while, and a huge sense of powerlessness came as his heart surged. He looked at the tragic scene of casualties around him, and he felt extremely lost in an instant. At this time, Kakashi's voice sounded from behind him. Young people, don't be so easily discouraged. This is a writing wheel eye of Obito. With him you can enter and leave that world at will. I have no extra chakra to send you. Go in, then it's up to you. Looking at Kakashi and Kai, the corpse with soil on the ground, and Reikage on the side, looking at Uchiha Itachi's dazed Madara Uchiha, Zhang Yang nodded fiercely. I will definitely prevent this world from being destroyed. Said to do it, this is also my way of forbearance. Through simple medical ninjutsu, Zhang Yang replaced Obito's Sharingan with his other eye, and after getting used to it for a while, he activated Shinwei, and soon, the space beside him distorted and brought him into a different space. Chapter 420, I Will Always Remember You. Because of the transplant of Uchiha's shading wheel eye, Zhang Yang can perceive any corner of the world. He quickly found Lin Xiaoyu's position, but what surprised him was that there was also a very strong investigator. Clark is with her. When he rushed in front of Lin Xiaoyu, he found that the man was Nagato, who was sealing Gaara's tailed beast chakra into the huge outward magic path behind him. Zhang Yang hurriedly launched a ninjutsu, Fire Escape. Storm Flurry. He used the vortex-shaped space distortion created by Shinwei to speed up the spread and power of the flames. The speed was very fast, and it soon spread to Nagato's side. Nagato continued to seal Shukaku's chakra with a seal on one hand, and the other hand blocked the almighty push before Fire Escape. Storm Flurry, blocking the ferocious flames in the future. Seeing that the guard crane was about to be sealed in the outward magic way, Zhang Yang hurriedly activated the Golem Chakra Lock, using the chain formed by chakra, wrapped around the guard crane chakra pulled out from Gaara's body, and then holding the chain and pushing in the opposite direction, Nagato and Nagato began to compete for chakra, who was guarding the crane. Seeing that the seal chakra was blocked, Nagato launched an almighty push at Zhang Yang, trying to bounce him off. At this time, Fu Lang came out of Zhang Yang's body, melted into a golden light, and then condensed into a transparent golden bell emitting golden light, covering Zhang Yang, thus blocking Nagato's ninjutsu. Seeing this, Lin Xiaoyu was worried that her time was coming soon, so she took out a handful of kuwu from behind, ran to Zhang Yang, and stabbed the kuwu into Zhang Yang's body with all her strength. What she didn't expect was that Zhang Yang didn't dodge at all, letting kuwu stab him in the abdomen. Enough, don't do this kind of thing again, aren't there enough people you killed? Zhang Yang endured the pain and said to Lin Xiaoyu, don't be obsessed anymore. The wrong person is you. Lin Xiaoyu roared. This world is a fiction. They are all just characters created in the anime, it doesn't matter if they die, why do you stop me? Why do you want to kill me? Me? Kill you? Zhang Yang asked with a frown, I didn't hurt you. Afterwards, Lin Xiaoyu told Zhang Yang all about how he came to this world, what kind of tasks to complete, and how to go back, and then said to her, if I don't complete the tasks they set, I will disappear, no one can remember me, including my parents, my friends, aren't you killing me? After listening to her, Zhang Yang fell silent. Speaking of traversers, he is also a traverser himself, perhaps from a different world than Lin Xiaoyu. He first went to the world of One Piece, King of Pirates, and then to the world of Hokage, and he did not encounter any quests, nor did he under the will of the so-called God. He is like a wisp of green smoke, floating in these worlds, experiencing people and things that may be completely illusory. Lin Xiaoyu can at least go back, but what about Zhang Yang? He didn't even know how to go back, nor where the next world would travel, nor how long he would have to wear it like this before it would end. But isn't life just like that? Go to new places, meet new people, experience something funny or sad, and then get on the train to the next place, waving goodbye to the people you've met. Where is the next stop? What kind of people and things will you meet? How long can you live? All these questions are meaningless. It was at this moment that Zhang Yang also let go of the reality that he should face as a traveler. This is a journey without a destination, but there will always be an end. Thinking of this, he asked Lin Xiaoyu, how many worlds have you traveled? How many painful things have you experienced? How many friends have left you, and you don't even have an impression of them? Lin Xiaoyu covered her face and cried bitterly. She choked. Too many, I don't want to be the next one, please let me go home. How long can you stay after returning home? Wouldn't you still be taken to the next world by the so-called gods? Zhang Yang said, the reason why humans are different from other animals and can become the overlord of the earth is because we dare to facing fear and daring to challenge authority. We have personality and dignity. Those traversers who voluntarily gave up their tasks and were forgotten by you, they are using this method to challenge those gods. Quote, "Don't say it, please let me go, I want to go home, I don't want everyone to forget me, I don't want to be wiped away." Lin Xiaoyu cried bitterly. She grabbed Zhang Yang's hand and prayed, "Please, I don't want to be forgotten." "I won't forget you." Zhang Yang stared at her firmly. "You lie." Lin Xiaoyu growled. "You liar. Why do you say these ridiculous things? Why don't you forget me? Do you think you are a god?" Zhang Yang stared at him with a smile on his face, and said, "If you don't believe me, look at it." As he said that, steam burst out from his body, and from within his body, he transformed into a flaming blade, and then placed the blade that controlled the flaming blade on his arm. Lettering. The drop of blood flowed down Zhang Yang's arm to the ground, making a clear and loud sound in this world. Lin Xiaoyu stared at the boy in front of him, looking at what he was doing, his mind went blank. After Lu Ren Ruohuo returned to Zhang Yang's body again, he raised his arms with a smile and said to Lin Xiaoyu, "Look, how could I forget you?" Lin Xiaoyu looked at the scar on Zhang Yang's arm, the emotion in his heart finally burst, breaking through the icy dam, and tears overflowed from his eyes again in an instant. So, she compromised, threw away the kuwu in her hand, and stood aside in a daze. Time passed, and Lin Xiaoyu's body gradually became transparent. She curled her lips and cried silently. Although her eyes were fixed on Zhang Yang and her mouth moved, she wanted to say thank you, but in the end she didn't say anything. "Come out." In the end, Lin Xiaoyu's body became completely transparent and disappeared from this world. From all worlds. The setting of Nagato was contacted, he stopped the sealing ninjutsu in his hand, and the chakra of the guardian crane began to pour into Gaara's body again. Zhang Yang finally fainted due to excessive blood loss, and the golden bell jar around him floated in front of him in the form of a golden dragon. Fu Lang looked at the young man in front of him, the corners of his mouth rose, showing a smile. He said to himself, "It really is the person I liked, and it did not disappoint me." In the end, Fu Lang's eyes locked on the scar on Zhang Yang's arm, which was the crooked three characters, Lin Xiaoyu, and an ugly little fish.